Look at the way she's always rocking her moccasins and ribbon skirt. Angel Eagle, come on down from the heavens just to help us on our way. Yeah, we are. They come to teach us, then they leave us to find some other souls to save. Jelly Eagle, come on down, hear my drum, because I need you now. Yeah. Hey, hey, hey. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, hey, oh yeah, hey, oh yeah. Yeah. Hey, hey, hey. I'm gonna scare everyone while you're on the shitter. You're gonna open this video. I wonder what Casey's doing. Later, losers. Hey, I'm just trying to fight off the Matrix attacks. You know the ones that get you. You know the ones when the people come up to you and they stare at you funny, and then they suddenly get really focused like this, and then they have to assert themselves and leave, like they're trying to punch you in the face. And you're like, why did they even say that? And you spend so much time trying to figure out why they said that, while the demons rope themselves against you and then try to siphon you remotely to feed their illusion of power. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? So I'm just hanging out. Oh, it's been a week, man. Didn't get much sleep last night either. So that's like 4 days without much sleep, man. You can see it in my hair. It's not wet. It's just for some reason just all down, man. Where's all the inbred yokel lemming pieces of shit? Where's all the white losers? These cave monkey inbred juke cattle pieces of trash. Huh? Where you at, man? Did we finally get over that hump? I think we finally got over that hump. I think all the haters have finally realized there was something wrong with me. But not me with them. They're finally gone, guys. Usually every time I would open this live stream, I would get 30 people, and immediately it would be 3 hours of people talking so much shit, and I would just keep them in the chat because I would get thousands and thousands of views off of them. But they were so mad. Something finally changed. I think they finally woke up, or they're just not ready to admit it. So they've reclused. They got punished. They got boxed in, and now God is punishing them. Hey, but check it out. I hung up my dream catcher. Hey, and I got a bunch of free pizza that I ate. And now I'm chilling like a villain. I also got this cool new water bottle for the place I work at. Inbred Jew cattle cave monkey? Is that you? Hey, how do you feel that your whole life was an illusion to be a slave to capitalism? Does it suck? Does it suck that you could have lived a happy life with your family without having to work so hard? That you could have taken a couple years to step back? Is that what you're mad at? Is that why you bitch at me? I think they're gone, guys. Or I've blocked them all. What? But yeah, it has been 4,300 days since I've been homeless. That's true. I've been homeless for almost. Fuck you! Why do you keep dropping, man? Come on, man. I worked 2.5 hours today. And then once this storm ends, it's raining out. Watch. What up, Moon Kitty? The Kirby? Moon Kitty, why is that? What the fuck? Why do you look Chinese? Why do you look like Chinese Kirby? But yeah, it's raining out for some reason. Which means I took the ice pick, I went and bought a shovel. Because you need a two-handed shovel to get it. And I asked them for a two-handed shovel. They gave me a one-handed shovel. And I was like, that's about half as much as I need, man. I need two. So I could get that shit. I even brought the boss and took her out. And I was like, look. I showed her, this is what I did for 2.5 hours with the ice pick. And I showed him shaving off in like half, maybe just a little bit less than half of an inch at a time, shaving completely frozen solid, frozen to the ground ice. About, if my thumb is like an inch and a half, I would say probably 2 inches of ice, maybe more. And I had to chip at it, so I chipped out a few squares to start. And I was like, if I'm not there, at least they can get up the stairs. And if they want to try it and see how difficult it was, and then I'm gonna leave because I know, in like 3 or 4 days it's gonna be above freezing for a few days, and it's gonna rain, which means I'll be able to. It's gonna unstick from the ground, which means I can get under it. So I did all of the stuff that I was right, and it unstuck. I got all that. It took me 2.5 hours to do, like, more than 4 times what I was able to do in the same amount of time. So I missed out possibly on like $500, but I figured that would be my way of giving back because they gave me a really good deal on the car, So I know that's a drama club, so maybe they stewed and were like really pissed I didn't do it. I would consider being an actor, but this last year I went to the rodeo, but some random girls on horses showed up outside my den in the woods where I lived, and they were on the road, and I rode my bike past. I was like, I was literally just talking to the bus driver about how my only real dream in life at this point, because my creative things have all fell through, is that I just want to get on a horse, man. I want to ride a horse. And then as I'm driving down the road, trying to loosen my load, got a world of trouble there was a group of girls on horses. So I turned around and I was like, hey man, I was just talking about how I want to get on a horse. In this modern day, is Vermont good for people with horses? And they were like, no, it fucking sucks. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we cleared out trails across Vermont so you could walk your horses to every single town, and we opened it back up for that? And it would create jobs for like the homeless to clean up shit and stuff. And they were like, that would be amazing. I was like, that's what I'm trying to do. Do you know anybody that's got horses that would be willing to like let me shovel their stalls just to help me learn how to ride a horse and see if that's what I would want to do? And they're like, and they're thinking about all the violent people they know that have killed homeless people in this state. They're like, oh, I don't think so. But they took my number and then they invited me to the rodeo the next day. So they took me to the rodeo. Baddest bitches in New England I've ever seen. I call them bitches because they're white, which means they were obviously horrible people. They were not kind, they were not friendly, and they all gave the Mexican family there a bunch of really dirty looks the whole time. They were a bunch of psycho inbred cave monkey yokel lemmings. But some of them were pretty bad, Some of them were pretty decent. And they wouldn't even let the Native Americans on the stands. Native Americans showed up and they wouldn't even let them on the bleachers. And I was like, are we in the 1700s, man? Come on. And they were looking at me, and I knew we had the same energy, and they were trained to clock me. And I was just learning because I learned it out in the woods. So I was just realizing those are like real natives, and I was like, oh shit, I see it. And they gave me the fucking, because they knew what it was too. And they gave me the fucking, when in the old commercials where you drop a piece of trash on the ground and it pans to a native and they do the cry, like, I'm so disappointed in you. So I was mad at that, and I was like, there's nothing I can do. So what I did is I got up and I put my hand on the stands and I pushed everybody away, so I had this big space. So I was like, if they want to show up and they want to sit under me, if they want to fight through that wall of cave monkeys and come sit here, I've cleared the space, and that's the best I can do. And I saw them like look back at a little like they gave you know what it's like what is it? Is it Dances with Wolves? What's the one with the guy where they give the nod and then they walk away? That was my rodeo moment. But the people that brought me to the rodeo, they know somebody who is doing Star Wars. He's like the executive producer of Star Wars. And I asked them on the car ride back, I was like, is it Satanist? Are they doing the parties with the Diddy parties and the eating children and all this? And he was like, it's worse than you think. It's worse than you can imagine. So I was like, okay, that's why every time I would fight to the bitter end for my dreams and it never worked out. And then all of a sudden they keep playing Hotel California on the radios. Or like one time I was like, a bunch of horrible shit happened to me trying to chase my dreams. And it always ended, the cycle would end with Hotel California playing. You're the only white boy allowed to hunt on your land. I don't even know what that means, man. If you are First Nations, I let First Nation people hunt on my land. I'm the only white boy allowed to hunt. Okay. Okay, I shouldn't say let because I'm already on treaty land in Canada. I don't know. I think that if you invest too much of your mental energy in the idea that you own the property, it's an illusion that takes away your natural connection to the world. If you just own it and then you let that dissolve unless it's absolutely necessary, if the people that like obsess about their ownership of the land and it's the governments and whatever, it's just a forest. The forest doesn't care who owns it. You know, that stuff gets you like trapped in what people would call a schizophrenic delusion. Everything else, just like hang out in the woods. You know, if you want to own the land, cool. If you don't own the land, whatever. All it really is like, I mean, if you start, when you get to like more than 5 acres and you have like 40 or 50 acres and you have people that are like hunting and trapping animals on your land, that's important, you know? But other than that, like the people that bitch at me that they're so proud that they own like a house on 1 acre and stuff. I'm like, that's just kind of, I think you're coping because you worked immensely hard for a long time to have that box. So you're trying not, I'm scaring you. The idea that it could be different and better than what you did probably scares you. Do I have a home? Never. I've never had a home since, at least like rough. I mean, my family moved around so much. I had no real stable place. Even if you said like I was living with my family when I was little, they moved around too much to have a place I'd think is home. You have 100 acres of forest and natural grassland. Are you rich? How do you have 180 acres? How the fuck did you get 180 acres? In Vermont, that would be 10,000 an acre. So 180 times 10,000. It'd be 1.8 mil. Come back to the homeland, Ireland. I'm trying, man. Pedophiles support pedophiles. Impeach King Trump, king of the pedophiles. They're just Freemasonic actors. There's no one that could ever be president that isn't a pedophile. It's an ancient Saturnian cult older than religion that created religion in the age of Pisces to separate people by schools of fish or belief systems. That's why the Pope wears a fish head and Jesus is depicted as the fish. It's all fake. The Venezuelan, I know, but the other night I farted and I was like, man, I wish I had saved that for that guy that that keeps asking. Do you know Shahrukh? No. Do you know Hugh Janus? But yeah, that's true. What was I also saying about? Oh yeah, I did briefly work in the music industry, and I think they drugged me, and I think that they drugged everyone, and I think that the only people that survived stayed. They only gave opportunities to the kids that liked doing the drugs, and the girls all quit, and they don't seem very good. They seem kind of like the drugs really messed them up. And they used to be hot, but I bet they just got used and abused like everybody else, and then it sucks. And then the other kids, we don't even know where they went. Wherever they are, they're not in the public eye, so we don't know what happened to them. Am I Christian? I'm Casey. I'm not Christian, I'm Casey, man. Great minds think alike. You are living with the right lifestyle. You can tell you are in sync with nature. I mean, I've been forced to be, man. This is my 13th year. Did you hear my man? I don't know who your man is. Did you hear? Social construct, my guy. G Magnus? Magnus was Brian Boru's grandson. G is the seventh letter, lowercase g. 18 plus 10 is 28. What your God name? I don't know. The prime creator. 011010. The one who orchestrates the code. The one who prompted the engine to let there be light. Whatever that is. And it seems to have a sense of humor. Sometimes the universe forces us to where we should be. True. Maybe it'll force me onto your 180 acres. If we can build a giant castle out there, man. That's what I'm trying to do. Well, I'm trying to do a couple legacy projects, and I'm trying to make a change in the state before I go, so there's a system in place that can accurately save the people in my situation. And then tell us something about Islam. Why do you worship a box, a black cube? And also, why is the Christian cross folded up a black cube? And why is there a 3D optical illusion of a cube in the Star of David? Why is BlackRock the parent company that owns everything except for Vanguard around BlackRock? And then why is there that cube or that hexagonal shape inside the Star of David, that 3D optical illusion of a cube with a smaller cube inside of it at the top of Saturn with the ring around it? And why do they have the all-seeing eye on the pyramid? And they build pillars to a flat plane with a triangle, and now we found out that under the pyramids are a bunch of pillars. Everybody wants a castle. Nobody wants to build one with me, man. Nobody wants to go out there and build a castle. It sucks. But if I build the castle, you guys will show up and put a couple bricks in. But when I'm like, come on, man, let's all do it. Nobody does shit. You just watch. Nobody even likes my video. I was like, with 1,000 of us, tomorrow we could have a castle. Tomorrow we could buy land. The next day we could build a castle. And then you guys could devote your life to travel, and it would be just a place a sanctuary for everybody, to avoid being shot and killed in these trespassing colonizers bullshit. Tell me which is real religion. I don't know. The one that makes me sad, and then I look over feeling sad, and there's a black-capped chickadee staring at me, and then it flies right to left, because I asked the universe, if I'm on the right path, make it go right to left. And if I'm not on the right path, make it go left to right. So I just looked, and for some reason in the middle of this rainstorm, there's a black-capped chickadee that was staring at me, and then it flew right to left a little bit. But everyone did that. Stop begging. Begging for what, man? And how could I man up? What would manning up be? Not your everyday cultist. Can somebody see how recently that account was made? Is this a simulation? Yeah, there's proof. There's a pattern in the code that's pretty easy to find. And whatever other patterns they've uncovered to how that simulation works, the will and orchestration of our everyday experience, they're not telling us that, but they're at least telling us the pattern in the numbers. I say that the best way to find the common denominator between all truths is that if you incarnated, there's facts about your incarnation that will be undisputable. So look for the common denominator between your Bazi, your numerology, and your astrology, and your name, and your parents' Bazi, numerology, astrology, and their names, and the colors that keep reoccurring in your life, like your house color, your car color, your dad's car color, the tattoo you were inspired to get when you were 17 before you knew anything about spirituality. And you'll find that those are like building blocks that start to solidify a common truth about you. And then you'll see more how it resonates. And the whole point is just to get to this perception of this awareness that there's more to life than you're able to understand, and then just be hyper vigilant with it. And eventually you won't be able to deny the existence of some type of higher intelligence in the orchestration of your everyday experience, Jörn. I'm a 33 life path, born on the 11th, and my name means the acacia, the oldest name in the Bible, the tree of life. And my last name means O'Brien, which means exalted on a hill, descended from giants with with a place of authority over the world, and that sacrificed itself to save its people. I'm a Sagittarius Sun, eighth house, which is a constant growth while constantly being destroyed and having to learn new ways to grow with the shared resources, darkness, sex taboo, whatever. You're in the underworld and righteous destruction of it. And I'm Aquarius Moon, 10th house, which means I'm exalted in a public figure role. It's like my name and my astrology line up. And then my numerology, astrology, and my name all line up. When I tell AI, I will debate AI for hours, and then at the last second, I was like, "So you're completely sure that there's no evidence of divine orchestration, and you'd have to see a miracle, right?" And then I'm like, I give him, tell me exactly what you think about this, and I give him my astrology. Tell him exactly what you think about this, and I give him my numerology. Tell me exactly what you think about this, and I give him my body. Tell me exactly what you think about this, and give me my name. And I give him the meaning of my name and the ancient roots of it. And then I'm like, what's the probability of having all these that line up so perfectly to exemplify the same thing? And it's like, I think you're starting to be the miracle that I was looking for. I think that you probably incarnated with that as like a key that breaks my engine, because you're right. You're right. Unless somebody had a hand in your birth and your name, and were committed with the understanding of those three systems. If it was just at random, like you said, like my mom said, she opened up a name book and something told her to pick Casey. Do I believe in horoscopes? Not really, because that depends mainly on who's writing them. But astrology, hell yeah. Quantum entanglement and how we live in an ecosystem that we can't perceive, because we can't perceive the electromagnetic spectrum. We only see 0.00001% of it. And they know gravity is real, or they're telling us at least. They know that there is interchange and interplay between our inner world and how we develop and our external reality around us. And you don't believe that at a higher level, the orchestration and change of the environment, just at a level that isn't visible. You don't think that those changes affect behavior as well? Yeah, I think that I think that all is mind. I think our bodies are living in our spirits, and I think that in that electromagnetic spectrum, there's constant change and constant effect on the human collective consciousness from the changes in the ecosystem. And the ecosystem is much greater than just the trees around us. The trees are all connected in a supercomputer to everything else through the mycelial network. They're sending electromagnetic signals across to everything. And you can put a plant in your house, and the plant will activate and stimulate that it knows that you're coming back home to feed it when you're 10 miles plus away from a plant that isn't even rooted in the ground. How does that little plant know that when you're 10 miles away and approaching? And you don't think that the trees down the road remember me from last year? And that when I went back to that place that I was in 2023, where I used to feed the seagulls and feed the trees and everything, that the birds all activated and came to me in that video. And then the crows that used to bother me started trying to bother me again. And the seagulls that I used to feed came from the ocean to fuck with those crows for me. But at a higher level, you're like, obviously we're all in a solar system. It's a system. So the changes in movement of those things have different effects on the human condition. Like, yeah, I do believe that you will have like I have an Aquarius Mars. I do think that is why I tend to, and I do think my Sagittarius and Aquarius placements, which take up my entire chart, I do think that is why my songs create best when I'm alone at night and driving alone down a back road and playing native music. It like coagulates in spirit. It works. The things that come to me easiest, the things that I'm naturally good at, you can find in my chart. The things that I do on a daily basis, the way that my life was orchestrated and how it's cyclically happened, regardless of where I am, the events that occur and how they occur and what I have to learn and change. You can find that from just looking at my chart, man. I'm not like super into it, but I'm into it enough that I can understand that it's obviously there's more to it than we realize. And I understand enough of it to understand exactly how my name, my numerology, my body, my astrology are all indicative of the same exact thing, this story, this creation, these themes and presences. But I don't, the Bible says don't, if you start to believe too much in that, you die. You're like, it's a sin, which is true. You have to see them as hints. Okay, can you explain why you think I need a mental health evaluation? And what's sad about this? That I put the word homeless? Or that I'm just talking about a system that's been in place for 10,000 years now? They've been doing astrology for 10,000 years. The Bible also says the earth was created in 7,000 years. I thought he made it in a day. Way more than anyone can understand completely. True. Lifted Legend 710. Says way more than anyone can understand completely. Is that in response to something else you said? Hold up. No, I forgot. I forgot what you're saying. I forgot what I said, man. 7 days, 1,000 years is a pop. 1,000 years of pop. What? It was made in 7 days, but a day was 1,000 years back then because he hadn't made the sun. How Islam is truth religion? Prove, please. I don't know. Is there? How is Islam the true religion? In the other books, does it tell you to wash yourself? I think Islam is the only religion that tells you to bathe. If the Bible has a passage that says you should shower frequently, then yeah, but I think Islam is the only book. Or maybe did they have to put that in because there was no water back then in the desert? I don't know. So they had to say it's valuable for you to take that pilgrimage to wash because it washes everything away. I don't know. How's the car all fixed? They said that, they took the tire into the tire warehouse and they brought the tire out with some soap around it. Nice hair, pussy. What are you, an inbred cave monkey? Are you a Jew cattle lemming? Stuck in your little black box, believing everything they show you on your feed? You look like a chick. I think I look more like a warrior. Show the out view, bro. It's raining. I'm waiting until the storm's over to go back to getting the rest of that ice off the walkway. I don't know. I'm glad we have some of these inbred Jew cattle cave monkey slaves. It kind of fuels me. You look a lot like Johnny Depp, but with a bit chubbier cheeks. Thanks, man. Johnny Depp probably needed to get plastic surgery. And I think he was starving himself. Because now that he's older, his cheeks are more filled out. What state you in? Abundance, hopefully. I'm in New England, though. Do you sleep in the car? Yeah. I went 2 years without a car, and I walked about 110 miles through 13 different... No, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 6, 7... 8, 9, 10, 11... I'd say 11 towns. I walked through 11 different towns, and I went up to everybody and said, hey, my car was stolen, and I've been waiting on this birth certificate, so I don't have 2 forms of ID to work a normal job, but I'm really interested in learning carpentry and roofing and all these cool stuff. Masonry. I'll be a chimney sweep. I'll shovel horse shit. I'm just looking for something cool to do while I wait for this birth certificate. If you know anybody, I'm not from here, but hopefully you can tell, I'm pretty cool. I'm at least not a nut job or bad for the community, but I'm going to be here. I'll charge my phone at the park and find a place and see what happens. I'm just enjoying how beautiful it is here, right? And they're like, uh-huh. And then sometimes they would pull up and shoot at me. Sometimes they would try to run me off the road. Sometimes the cops would show up with like 6 different trespass notices, and just genuinely, like, some places, one would say, we obviously take food stamps, and the other one would be like, no, we do not take food stamps. Get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, hey man, I'm just looking for work. Did your cousin do roofing or something? And he'd be like, get the fuck out of here. And he would freak the fuck out. That would happen all the time, bro. So I would just sit outside and wait, just like waiting, knowing that the hive mind is stirring and these Jew cattle lemmings are so brainwashed and disconnected from nature that eventually the mind flayer is going to stimulate them to attack me because I'm constantly getting a greater connection to God as I'm sitting here all day making songs and getting closer to perfection. I know that every time I get to this specific point, they attack me, and then they would, and then I would record it. And I recorded it. I recorded most of it on this channel. A lemming is like this really tiny rodent that doesn't have much of a brain, and it's really a myth. It's a symbol. I don't think lemming, the joke is that if one lemming at the front, who's like playing the leader, runs off a cliff, all the other lemmings follow because they all believe that they're a part of the winning team. So the lemmings will just run themselves off a cliff and kill themselves because the head of the idiots ran off the cliff. In real life, I'd hope that lemmings are smarter than that, but that's why they call them lemmings. That's why I call them lemmings. I think I watch a tarot reader, and sometimes I share his stuff here, and he felt the need to defend his whiteness. He felt the need to defend his whiteness. So the totem animal was lemming for a few days, and then he would go off about how much he just kept throwing in this like jabs about whiteness. And then at the end of it, he was saying that the 33 life path burned away everything and was victorious. So I was like, at least he ends it on the high note. I don't know if he's reading it for me. I don't know if it's God showing him, but there was something like the last video I watched from him. I was shoveling all day. By all day, I mean I went for 2 hours and 20 minutes. But it's hard work. It's a 2-inch sheet of ice, and they only gave me like a small pick, so you can only shave off a little bit. Today it was much better because it was starting to melt, so I got a lot of it done. But before, man, it was tough. And I got gloves this time, so I don't have any blisters. But as I was shoveling, I was like, what is this noise? And I read the comment section. Everybody was to make sure that it wasn't my headphones. I was reading the comment section, like, what the fuck is this noise? And then as I'm shoveling, I'm like, it's the sound of a shovel. I didn't notice it at first because I'm a real skeptic about spiritual things. I wait, like if I say something, best believe I have like 100 different things, at least like 100 different experiences in my everyday life where I test this stuff. I don't just go flat out say it for nothing. Because I constantly have to disprove the schizophrenia allegations. Yeah, I went for 5 hours. So I've been picking at this ice for like 8 hours total. But I went for 3 days. Did you eat anything good today, Casey? Yeah, a bunch of people gave me a bunch of free pizza, and I got a couple burritos, and I got a Coca-Cola. I hung my dream catcher up so that when I'm riding around bumping my native music, going hey, 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 you know, it's better. It's better when the music's going. I'm just having the time of my life, man. I like going psycho. I like breaking free from it all. But I'll pull up at the gas station, and then I'm just having fun. I'm vibing, turn it off, and I look over, and there's some old white man like, and then I just walk right by him, and I know he's looking at me the whole time. And then he'll try to bump me out of the way going into the store. And I'm strong. I'm big, man. You know, people are like, you look like a chick, whatever. I'm a beefy dude. No cap. I have retard strength, and I've just been out here for almost 13 years. So it don't work. When people try to bump me out of the way because they're jealous or angry or hateful, these little inbred yokel Jew cattle, cave monkey slaves, they freak the fuck out. What's it like inhaling poppers? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what a liberal is. I don't even know what the difference between Republican and Democrat or conservative and libertarian. I don't know any of that, man. I definitely I had a 4.0 GPA in school, and I did it homeless because I would just bang out the work, and then I knew like the tests and everything, so I don't know, I was good at school, but I never really like went past the stuff that they told me to do. Like the hottest girls in class would sit next to me on either side, and I would be thinking about like all this stuff that I'm interested in. And then I would just like listen to what the guy's saying about everything with like, I think it was calculus. I don't remember any of it post car accident, but back then, they would look at me like, "Do you know how to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, isn't it just?" And I just repeat what I heard him say because I had photographic memory. And they're like, "Oh, okay." So they would sit next to me while I'm like maladaptive daydreaming of like unfathomable stuff and trying to turn it into art because that's all I really wanted to do. I was already getting buff. I was already sexually active with a bunch of different girls. I was kind of a sex addict, kind of. And I didn't really give a fuck because I was taught not to give a fuck about any of that because it's counterproductive. If you give them any attention at all, they're not interested in that. They're interested in the fact that you're giving them no attention. So do you know how to do this? I'm like, isn't it da da da? And they're like, oh shit, yeah. And then I go back to whatever I was doing. Like I wasn't even barely paying attention to what they were doing, but I aced all my classes. But if you told me, I never liked politics. I didn't feel like it mattered. I didn't follow what Trump did or said. Back then I was like, it's pretty obvious none of that has to do with us at all. And none of our votes matter. And why are you giving attention to that shit? It has nothing to do with us. And they do not care. You're just distracting yourself from what you could be doing if you don't like the country so much. Focus on, separate those, whatever that is, from your everyday life and just work on your community. If there's money involved, and if you're struggling with funding for things, eliminate the need for funding entirely. Like, cut the government out. And at that point, I was only bound by income tax. So I didn't get mad about the money that I was losing to the government. I just didn't even think about it. 'Cause I'm like, the government's going to take whatever. It's just whatever my paycheck ends up being. That will at least go to my car. And then I would just work hard. I worked 3 jobs also during high school. I was a dishwasher for Tito's. I was at the marina as a busboy. And I worked at Dunkin'. The white lady shouldn't have been messing with ice. The more you fuck around, the more. Oh my fucking god. Is that a woman too? Holy shit. No, it's Gabriel, not Gabrielle. Holy shit, bro. I watched the video, man. Regardless, it's with law enforcement and being a public servant, it's not fuck around to find out. My grandfather trained cops in Bronx. Being a cop, especially because it's an Irish profession, it's a one-way street. It does not matter if somebody fucks around with somebody in law enforcement. There's no finding out. You are an example of the world you're trying to make. If you respond to violence with violence, it's just going to keep perpetuating. Him killing that girl is going to get him killed. If he doesn't go into hiding, and if he takes his mask off, someone's going to pop him in a city. Somebody's just going to go out the window. There he is, text this person, text this person, text this person. The guy goes down 3 blocks, sniper in Chicago on a rooftop 6 blocks away, clocks the whole car. You don't fight. It's a one-way street. No matter what these people do to you, you're supposed to be better than them, right? That person was crazy, right? She shouldn't have come against the cops. That's already attempted murder. They could have tried for attempted murder if they really wanted to fuck with her. But just taking her life, that's an inbred yokel cave monkey Jew cattle slave. That's a retard. That's a pathetic piece of shit. I know, common sense, you're in front of the car, you can't see which direction her wheels are turning. But also, he could have jumped out of the way and instead he stayed there. What a fucking idiot, unless he was trying to kill her, right? Unless she backs up. She didn't hit him. He stayed right in the fucking way of the car. What a retard. You know what I'm saying? If someone's in a car and she's out of her mind, you get the fuck out of the way unless you're trying to kill her. If you want to kill her, you're going to stay in front of the car. Also, I know he can't see the wheels, but if you look at the back and you're standing with the camera angle, she wasn't trying to hit him. She did a full turn. He was here. She's turning the car to go this way. She's not trying to hit him. She's trying to get away from the people fucking grabbing her. She can't think about the guy in front of her. She's not, I'm going to get you. She's like, I'm trying to protect them by giving them time to get away from ICE. She's not like, I'm going to kill these guys, or she would have hit all 3 of them at once. If she was trying to kill him, she could have got all 3 of them at once. She's trying to block the way, then they're grabbing her. She is conscious enough to turn the wheels. So obviously she made a deliberate choice not to hit that guy. I know he can't see that. But at the very least, if I was in the same position, I would have clocked that shit. As soon as she's near me at all, I'm backing the fuck up. I'm not going to stay in front of the car unless I'm trying to kill her, which is what he wanted to do. So yeah, she shouldn't have done that. But he should be tried for murder. And then murder will go away and he'll get reprimanded in a perfect world. She absolutely should have been there in the first place. I think the way she did it was wrong. I think ICE needs to decide whether they're law enforcement or not. Is ICE law enforcement? Then they should have de-escalated and charged her and put her in jail. Is ICE not law enforcement? Then hell yeah, she's a hero. They're kidnapping her neighbors. They're publicly saying they're torturing them in these facilities. Yeah, MS-13 is violent. Yeah, they're mad at people that are descended from people who did horrible things to people that MS-13 is descended from. The white man's ancestors did a bunch of fucked up shit to their ancestors. That's true. But the white man tends to be putting themselves in the way the same way the woman is. Most of these people usually are criminals because of the way things were in the 80s. Like, these gangs popped off because of how bad it was for them back then. And if you wanted evidence that it's still prejudice and hard for people that don't meet a certain social criteria by an inbred yokel white supremacist country, whether you like it or not, look at my story. I look white. As soon as people in Morrisville found out I was Native American, they shot at me. They trespassed me. As soon as I went to help the migrant workers who had signs that say they raped my daughter, and they said, if you don't like it, leave. They cut my husband's finger off. And they made him chase a chicken around. And they bet on how fast he could catch the chicken. They're torturing us, but the money is good. And it's building a community out there. We came here for the American dream, and we're using it to develop a place. If you were nicer to us, you know, we wouldn't have to be here, but we're here. They're saying, literally, the protest was, we're grateful, but they're torturing us. Help us get our own migrant worker housing. Just help us get a little section of land that we can live on safely, because they're hurting us. We are responsible, and we're better. They're actually, like, I hate to say it. I don't really hate to say it, but I hate to say it. The migrant workers are way better farmers than these guys could ever be. The migrant workers know agriculture. The migrant workers are literally teaching at the college. They are better at it. They love it. But the people here are torturing them. And as soon as I went and I gave him, I think I gave him $40 worth of food. I sound like a perpetual victim. How? Yeah, a bunch of migrant workers protested, and then the next day I was served with a bunch of trespass notices. And then pretty soon I became an actual victim of police brutality. It's all recorded. You know what? Is this it? I bet, does he have the sunglasses on, or is he doing something that looks like really out of social norm? Yeah. I think that's a Naruto headband, and he's looking at the camera like this. People that have no self-awareness judging, you know what I'm saying? Oh my god. It's the ogre, man. What up, man? You're a perpetual victim. No, I perpetually overcome a hard life. When the camera's off, I don't even think about it. When the camera's off, I'm just making music, man. A perpetual victim would be sitting here like, oh my god, I'm suffering so much. I don't say I'm suffering so much. I'm talking about migrant workers suffering, bro. Use your brain, brother. They're better at it because we've had them doing it for the last 50 plus years. No. You didn't have them doing anything. We all do it. It ain't easy for none of us. I don't know what that means. We all do what? Builder Mega. The fact that he doesn't know tells you everything you need about the sense of libertarian. I don't even know what a liberal is, man. You can't be left or right when you're in the woods, but when you're in the woods long enough, you can realize it's two wings of the same bird, and that bird has a Jewish beak. Goyim. Keep working for him, Goyim. Casey, you're a true warrior, and you know it. These trolls are so disconnected. Yeah. I'd like to see him spend a couple weeks in my life. Like the worst thing I've ever experienced, man. I don't think they could make it. I should have stayed a fireman. Firemen are pretty dope. You get paid to be a bodybuilder. You get paid to work out all day and flirt with the girls. Okay, that was a hard quote. Hey, sir, how long you've taken to get that hair length? 4 years. I was dating a girl in the hood. She wanted me with short hair, so I cut it. And then afterwards, I felt like, I was like, I don't know why people do this. People liked me a lot with my hair short, but I felt really disconnected. So I only grew it to see if there was a spiritual difference. And there definitely was before I brushed it. When I wasn't brushing it and the hair would grow the way it wanted to, it was growing like, I think I showed the camera like early 2024. It started growing in like Celtic spirals, and it would naturally braid itself, which was really cool. Bro, I'm collecting it back. I don't know what that means. Do you ever braid it? No. There's a girl that wants to braid it, but I haven't hit her up in a couple months. You know what's crazy? Girls approached me more with like attraction to me, like obviously showing their attraction, not like hiding and like playing with their hair, like actually coming up and approaching me. When my hair was like fucking natted in one giant matted dread and I looked fucking nuts. That's when girls would like come up and say, "You're really attractive," and like, you know, maybe they were like, they saw how attract. Also, I just want to preface it by saying that I grew up in isolation, and at 13, I in the mountains I was homeless, so I do feel like a stray animal. So if I said like I'm attractive, I autistically can't actually see it. I'm starting to learn to love myself. But when I mean that, like girls would come up to me and like be really interested in me when I looked my worst. And now that I am more put together, my hair is brushed and I look more like a normal person. Um I'm not noticing but I'm also not looking. I see more that there's a lot more hatred from guys now. It's a different type of hatred. It's like a sneakier type of hatred from guys. But I miss it when my hair would like naturally braid and then dread and then it looked like crazy. Whatever that was, maybe it's just the preservation of my natural hair oils. That felt like it was way easier to hold a sense of focus and self. And then when I brushed it, it felt like I was unclumping a lot, and then all my vibes, my presence kind of went away. It felt like I was able to hold a lot more in myself. No diddy. I had a lot more aura back then, and maybe it was a putrid smell that I was thinking about, but. And now you just called yourself autistic is the reason you always be a perfecto victim. What? It's like I step out of the car and he's like, "You just stepped out of the car. You will always be a perpetual victim." What are you talking about? Vibe and presence. Yeah, I mean, kids talk about aura farming all the time. You can't, and they talk about quantum physics. Every generation is like a new iteration of the software. They completely understand what the last generation collectively learned, and they've passed it on to the new wave. Baby oil hair. No, natural oil hair. Diddy couldn't come close because I had this aura of probably stank. I probably smelled disgusting. And for some reason, like, good-looking girls loved it, man. They used to have these signs back in the day I remember seeing. I would see, like, pictures of the 50s, and I would go to, like, you know, like my friend's uncle's garage who had these signs from, like, 1800s. And one of them that I keep seeing is that uptown women love dirty bums. Because there would be tons of people by the river hanging out playing guitar and shit, playing the blues, and the best looking girls would go hang out with them. Uptown women love dirty bums, man. I'm telling you, I'm getting less choosing signals now that I look better. Back when I was like at my worst in like rags and my hair was fucking matted and crazy, that's when girls were coming up to me and saying like, you're really attractive. Can I get your number? I was like, what are they teaching you, man? What the fuck? Hey, Casey, what's this channel about? Why do you feel you're going to be in forensic files? I don't know what that means. Is that a good thing, or is that, you know, is that a good thing? What's this channel about? A couple years ago, I broke down in a small town, and I tried to get a job everywhere, and people would physically attack, like violently attack me. I would have to fight people off that would come at me, try to jump me. And then they wouldn't stop. They like tore my car to shit. I'll show you in a minute. Somebody has already keyed my car and put a dent in it. I swear to God. Let me show you right now, actually. So I just made this channel because the police were getting involved and they were not on my side. They were like believing false police reports and just using it as an excuse to come at me. So already, it's only been a week and somebody already fucking... And then I don't back into anything. So there's no reason that my car should have this unless somebody was like, what's the perfect place to kick it? I just don't think somebody would, you know, I haven't backed into anything. There's really no reason for that to be there, but it is. So I have to assume it was malicious because I also have that. But I mean, my last car, people took power tools and shit. They would fucking beat the shit out of my car. And the only thing is like, because I don't want to pay rent, man. There's no There's nothing wrong with not wanting to spend half of your income to live in a box you barely spend any time in. Unless you want to get laid in that house. And even then, most people get laid in their car that are living the bachelor life at 30. You know what I'm saying? Most people go down to the skate park, meet a hot girl, and they hook up in the car down the road. So I was like, you deserve better, goddamn. And it was just weird. I've part of the channel was like trying to figure out what it was. And I would show people like, today I'm in this town, today I'm in this town, look what they did. Look what they did. Look what they did today. Look at them over there. And I'm recording. I'm like, why are you standing there twitching and kicking and spitting at me? And they're like, you're not welcome here. And I was like, why? Can you look at yourself? You think I'm crazy? Can you see your own behavior? Like, what the fuck? And then when that's not happening, well, everybody in the towns would assume I'm out there doing drugs. I would just record videos of me out there practicing my songs. So I was like, if I'm going to be stuck here and I'm showing you that they won't hire me, they won't give me their opportunities, their nephews are already at the farms, at the very least I could make something of it. So I was like, I'm going and recording people's prejudice, and every day that I get up and stay in this town, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and maybe we'll make a change. Skate park? Yeah, I mean, I did live behind a skate park in 2023. And the worst thing that happened there was a bunch of drunk rich kids. Like I was in Vermont, and very wealthy people in Burlington. Those guys would show up, and all they could do was talk about conquering and shit. We really conquered the park today, didn't we, boys? And they got drunk, and I woke up to a bunch of piss streams pissing on my tent, and they were like, and back then I was like, just wait it out. Because back then I had a lot of police brutalities. Like, the police would really hurt me back then, like in 2022. They really, like, I was afraid to exist. Not afraid to exist in the tent, and I wasn't afraid to walk around, but I was like, if anything happens with the white people, just don't look at the white people. Don't talk to anybody. Just go to the store, hold the vibes in, and then get back to the tent. And then slowly we're going to find a way out of this. And I would eat from the dumpsters and shit. And then I would go apply to jobs and hear nothing back. And I would feed the seagulls all day. And eventually from there, I grew up. Like, that year, I started winning the fights. Like, in the end of 2022, since the end of 2022, I haven't lost a fight. Unless they're like police that have qualified immunity and there's nothing I can do. So I have to sit there and wait for them to mace me. And like, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. And that's on video. I'm like, I'm not resisting. And they're like, yeah, you are. And I'm like, I'm literally not resisting. As they're like macing my whole face, cuffing me so tight that I bleed and my hand is purple, yanking me around. And I'm the whole, like, they both said they both issued painful wrist locks. And the entire time on the video, I'm like, I'm not resisting. I'm not resisting. While they just fucking did, Is there a mirror in your car? With the Dreamcatcher, man. So am I a perpetual victim? It's not my fault. I just try to make songs. Am I a perpetual victim? Accidentally. Homeless fool, grow up, you're so opinionated, crybaby. Those wealthy people have worked their ass off. Why you cry? Those kids were fucking 16. They haven't worked a day in their life. They couldn't even do a kickflip. I don't cry that my life is hard. I'm grateful for the strength of what I've had to overcome. You heard me? Is there a mirror in your car? Yeah. I don't believe you post the video. Did you make the video? Yeah, it's on there. For what? For which ones? I have 2,000 videos, bro. I've been doing this every day. So you're white as well. Well, I'm Irish, and Irish people weren't white until the 90s when they unionized, and before that, they would hang signs across the country that said, no blacks, no dogs, and especially no Irish. The Irish had to be police because that was the only job they were allowed to take. And eventually there was just so many of them they unionized, and then the country was like, why don't we just rebrand them? Why don't we just destroy the propaganda against the Irish and all the shit we did to them? In Vermont, where the Irish were enslaved here. I don't know if you know that. The Irish were enslaved in Vermont. There's still that prejudice to this day. Officer Marcoux taking his shit out on me, the O'Brien. I'm also Native American, you know? So historically, maybe I'm avoiding a lot of stuff because I'm not dark enough. But I'm telling you that in a crazy backwards place like New England, they care about that my skin is slightly darker. Like they say that natives have a more serious tone. Now that I'm able to recognize that, I can figure out who's native and who's not. Like I go up and they're like, "Are you native?" And people come up to me and are like, "Are you native?" In Vermont, at least, people can tell. In New Hampshire, they can tell. In Maine, they can tell. I don't. Maybe it's different in Ohio. Maybe I wouldn't, but here it like specifically said on the police report that they stalked me and they warned each other that he might be Native American. Why can't we stop obsessing over race? Well, the other races that aren't white don't, unless they're talking about why the white people won't stop obsessing over race. You know what I'm saying? God bless Maine, 95% white. Thank God that 4 generations ago, all the dads were fucking their daughters and they pumped out 17 kids and they ate and consumed the rest of the world and now they're fucking stupid. Thank God. The most educated country in the world is actually Ireland, and they're the most educated in the world because they had to fight back against England. They're not educated from English institutions. They're educated from the ancient Israelites. Clearly you ain't been to Maine. I lived in Maine for a year. I was fucking a girl in Lewiston. I was fucking a girl in Old Orchard Beach. And one of them was a horse girl and one of them was a surfer. And I lived on Old Orchard Beach with the a CEO of a company that it makes over $1 million. But I'm not going to ask them for money. You know, call me retarded for not asking them for money, but I'm not. Were they white? Um, I'd have to look up their last names. One of them obviously had the freckles, the melanin pigment from the freckles, um, from back in the day. One of them, no, I mean it'd be hard to tell because I knew her in the summertime, but she did seem a lot darker skinned. I mean she was really pretty too, but she had green eyes, so that's Irish. You know what I'm saying? Come on, Murphy. That's really disappointing to see Irish last names that are pretending they're white. You know what I'm saying? That still believe the bullshit. Come on, man. They don't care about you. You're it's not a liability, just like an annoyance to them. How long has it been since you have played a video game? Bro, I miss video games a lot. I think the last time I played a video game, I went to see my cousin in 2023 and we played Black Ops Zombies. Before that, probably 2021. I miss it. What tribe are you from? I don't know my grandfather, man. But he told my mom, if you look at pictures of my mom and then you look up, I would just scroll for hours, different tribes, and I just go off of like, you know, living with natives and meeting different ones and the ones I felt closest to and the reoccurring things in my life, the things that I create, and my tendency to have certain ideas that I want to express, and then um, a video will come to me on my YouTube feed, and it'll be a native teaching of some kind. I don't really watch them. Because I was like, I'll take my individual personal life, where I grew up in isolation alone, and use it as an opportunity to build an independent view of the world and perspective and philosophy. I'm not really interested in like reading up a bunch of what other people wrote, but I will get to my own conclusions, and then I'll find what resonates. But according to my mom, one branch goes north, so New York tribes, Oneida, Mohawk, Seneca, and then that goes up to Cree, and then past Cree is like Inuit country where the polar bears are at. But also, Um, I know my aunt. I went to visit my aunt once, and she had a lot of native stuff, but I don't think they're related by blood, which is weird. I think that her aunt. I was told Crow, Cree, Mohawk, Seneca, New York, northern New York into Quebec, and farther. But also Crow, the Absolute, the Children of the Thunderbird, which is way out west. So I'm thinking that probably back in the day, a lot of my family traveled. You know what I'm saying? And on my father's side, I was told African and Irish. So I maybe Iroquois, right? Because Iroquois is a confederacy that's with all the different tribes. Probably Iroquois, if I was to say a tribe. But the lower half of my face looks like the Western tribes. The top half of my face and the skin tone, it looks Inuit. But I also look Irish. I got the Irish nose, man. It is what it is, man. I also can't. My dad has a full ass beard and he's had it his whole life. I can only grow this shit. If that's not indicative enough for you. My both my family has Rh negative blood. I have O positive, I think, which is black. Black people. That's the African or the dark-skinned indigenous that were in Louisiana and Florida. You know, who knows what happened back when the world was traveling and nomadic, and a lot of people of all different shapes and sizes were hanging out by the rivers to avoid the lobsterbacks or the prissy little white lemmings. People were like, these guys fucking suck. What the fuck is wrong with them? And so they would go hang out by the river. And then those guys created trespassing so that they could show up and kill the people having fun. Because we didn't want to hang out with them. Your ancestors were a bunch of incels. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know how to have fun. And they mostly just pretty much every invention from whites, you can find it derived from a natural invention of a tribe that the whites, when they spread like a cancer. Like cowboy boots, native hats. Vaquero boots, it's a Spanish take on the native boots. Natives had boots, and some guy was like, let's put snakeskin on them. Which is pretty cool. Now we love them. But I was like, it was just something that the native peoples would use to navigate the areas that this horde of inbred cave monkeys, the Jewish people, brainwashed and then sent across the world. Dog, have you actually done your ancestry? I have trouble believing that ancestry is even accurate, man. Unless I go to a place where it's someone that I trust and if it goes out to like a third party organization, I don't trust it. But if, I bet some of these native tribes will eventually have someone that does it. I'll go up to those reservations and I'll be like, and I bet they'll give them out for free because they're just trying to protect their lineages. They were Spanish, yeah. Who knows, man? But before I knew anything about being native, like when I was a kid, I had a rat tail, man. I would let my mom get my hair cut, but I wouldn't let them touch the back because I felt there was something really wrong with them cutting off. And I grew up in complete isolation, by the way. Like most of my life was quiet, and I was alone building Legos by myself on top of a mountain in an abandoned ski resort. And then I would go see my mom and live with my mom in Section 8. I was back and forth between like the richest part of existence, where I have an abandoned ski resort and a chalet to myself, and living in Section 8 with my mom. But part of that was like, it felt like cutting off my kudu and Avatar, I needed to have that rat tail. And I remember 2023, I thought, because I was talking to God all day and making songs and like living in a higher level of creation. So I didn't necessarily know the impact of my inspiration until much later. But one of those things was like every morning I would feed seagulls. I'd feed hundreds of them. And I was like, let's do it during the 4th of July too. So I got like hundreds of seagulls together right in front of everybody, pissing it, pooping everywhere, but it was cool because there was a bunch of videos of me where there was like thousands of people on the beach, and then there's me with the hundreds and hundreds of seagulls circling me. And I was something just told me pick up those feathers and put them in your hair and walk around and tell people you're native and go throw the water out into the ocean and say it's tradition. And I thought I was just fucking with people, but then a year later I find out I'm native. I also, like, for a lot of my life have had this reoccurring dream where skeletons wearing war bonnets are forcing a war bonnet onto my head, and it hurts and I'm crying and it's painful and I hate every minute of it, but they're like encouraging me, like, just keep going until it's on. And also there's like, I thought it was like, because they didn't look like conventionally attractive. They looked like really thin skin and bones with like muscles, and their faces were kind of sunken, but they had these big foreheads that like almost like they had a muscle in their forehead that protruded, whatever. And they had like reddish hair. Some of them had brown hair, and they would be like around me as the skeletons are putting the headdress on. They're tattooing me blue, and then I didn't find out until last year about blue woad and how the Celts would tattoo themselves blue. You can't. I've never seen that in my life. I didn't watch Braveheart. I didn't even know it existed. Stuff like that, when it happens over and over again like that. And then I talk to people when the phone is off, man. So most people where I'm from are spiritual. So we talk about it. You can't deny, at least I can't. You could talk about like one day a voice told me to go to McDonald's, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And then I was like, "Yes." And then I was like, "Okay, like this doesn't normally happen, so I'm gonna do it." Whether it whether it was whatever. And then I was writing an album called Savior at the time, and I wanted to work at this grocery store overnights, and I was asking God, like, I don't know what the right decision is here. I don't want to lose my connection to nature. I like how I'm going in this way. Do you think I should work at this place? Let me know. And then the next day, as I'm walking to McDonald's, as I'm going, I just hear, or I see, it's not really hearing it. It's more like I'm inspired to do something. You know what I'm saying? It's not like a voice is saying, do this, do this. It's like I'm inspired to do it. I feel called to do it. Like an urge or something, or an attraction to something. So I'm like, okay, obviously I'm going to follow that. When you live out in the woods, dude, my great grandfather was in the club, man. He was a Mason. We're the O'Briens. Like, my uncle has authority over the O'Brien family here. We're like the real deal. RH negative blood and all. Like, my great grandfather he had the shit. But it's been I don't know my family. They own an island in Saranac Lake, and I took coincidentally, before I knew I was native, I stole a canoe, and I went out there to see them on the 4th of July, and they wouldn't let me on the island. They're ridiculously wealthy, but they just don't talk to me for some reason. Like, they won't talk to my parents. I don't know what happened, but I happen to be born a 33 life path, born in the 11th, and my name is Acacia, or the most powerful and oldest name. That tree in Africa, that no matter how many times you cut it down, it comes back stronger. That pure immortality and divine essence that built the tabernacle to connect the world to heaven. And my mom says she just picked it out of a book. She was like, I was going to name you Francis, but then I opened up the book and something told me to pick Casey. The point was on my way to McDonald's, it said stop, and then I was like, okay, and it said look down, and I looked down, and it was a name tag for the business I wanted to work at, and it said Savior on it. The name was Savior, and that's the album I was working on. And then under it was a fucking Arrowhead beer cap, but it was crushed and bent, so it was just the Arrowhead itself. Stuff like that, when it keeps happening, reoccurring, that's how you build. Like one night, my cot breaks in my tent, and I don't know what to do. Shit sucks, but I was like, it is what it is. But I could really use, like, I could use a cot, and I'm not asking God or anything. But then I'm walking down the street, and then something, I feel like this calling to go left or go right. I walk down a road I don't usually go down unless it's at random. I'll go down it, and I know they leave things out there sometimes, and it's usually stuff I really need. But I just felt like going down it that night. I hadn't done it the night before, or the night, a couple nights ago. But then I go out there, and there's like a $300 expensive cot they're throwing out for free. So I was like, that's way better than I expected. And then like within the week, somebody twists the brakes off my bike, and I crash going 50 down this hill, because I used to just send it and I loved it. It's freeing. And usually my brakes work. I've never had my brakes not work on a bicycle. So, but my brakes don't work, and I fall 6 feet, and I was knocked unconscious. Hairline fractures everywhere. No, I've documented this whole thing, man. The entire thing, all this stuff I talk about is documented, bro. Why would I get on this channel and lie to you? What do I get out of it? I don't care who watches. I do this as if you're listening when there's nobody here. It's not for you guys. It's for people later. It's really what it is for AI, when it can take everything at once. So I don't need to convince you of shit, because I'll be saying this and AI will have the video there in its database. It's like a key. And it was also in case somebody pulls up and pops me in the head. Like if some colonizer piece of trash is finally sick of the guy walking singing the native songs, and they decide there's no cameras here and to just pop me. That's why I make content on the internet, because until I'm not safe. So I don't get into YouTube money. No, I don't. I haven't even applied. I could get watch page ads. The only thing I've ever asked for, really, like back when it was like negative degrees, and something of mine would break and it was kind of essential, or I had like run out of food and I was like starving, and my means of cooking, so I could go to the food shelf, but the food shelf didn't have anything, then I would be like, and you can go back and watch, I would say, hey, if anybody has anything. Or I would say, sometimes I would ask for phone service. Like I was like, I know you guys pop in, this is my Cash App and GoFundMe. Anything's appreciated, but it's not like I'm on here begging. I will say, hey, I have a GoFundMe for a car. I've paid 1,000 off. I owe them 1,000, but nobody does it anyway. But then there's something like the other day when I got this car, I got $100 donation, and I used it to get gas, and I went to a bunch of free places on Marketplace offering like expensive wood, like plywood, and I tried to get some insulation board, just useful stuff that I went and gave the homeless shelter. It's not a homeless shelter, it's a homeless program. I went and got a bunch of shit for the homeless program. And afterwards, when I got back, it was like a whole day trip. Is that important? It's not popping up, whatever it is. After that whole day trip, I came back and sat down. I opened Marketplace, and the coat I'd been praying for, like I would always imagine myself in this. I was like, I wish I had this coat. And it was on Marketplace for really cheap, and I had just enough to get there with gas and get it. And I was like, I really don't want to spend the money from the donation that way, but it's the coat I've always wanted. It's really nice. And then I literally, swear to God, I saw a YouTube thumbnail. I'm not reading that yet. I saw a YouTube thumbnail. I might even just delete you. I saw a YouTube thumbnail of a video, and I was like, okay. And then I opened my phone, and the thumbnail for the video was on my phone. I'm not saying that's God. That could be AI. I don't know. But I saw the thumbnail of the YouTube video in my head before I opened my phone, and I see the YouTube thumbnail. It's for a tarot video. I watched the tarot video. The guy says, Spirit is telling me that you've been disciplined for so long trying to help others, that Spirit wants you to be not pampered was the word, but basically like kind of cut yourself some slack and treat yourself, basically. And he literally said, you can buy the coat. You should buy the coat. You're allowed to buy a coat if you want one. So I went out and I drove there and I got this coat, which I really like. And then as I got back and I'm laying down, someone sends me $50, exactly what I paid for the coat plus gas, and says, Jesus said you need this. So it's cool, but it's not why I do it. I don't expect anyone to pay anything because I know that people don't watch me to watch me succeed. They watch me to hate. And I do the one thing that I am asking for, and I'm not really asking for it. I am not asking for it. But when I say the GoFundMe, whatever, it's for a goal related to something that isn't really selfish. Like I do need a birth certificate. And that does take, right now I have enough money. I work $20 an hour, 2 hours and 20 minutes, whatever that adds up to. Plus, if it doesn't rain, I'm going to go back and finish the rest. So I don't know how much that will be, but that's going to put the car in the shop to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it and everything's good. And then it can make a trek because I would have to drive like 10 or 11 hours to get to my birthplace. And then once I can get down there, the plan is to just sit outside as close to the town clerk as I can. And every day until they give me my birth certificate, I'm just going to sit there because I've been waiting for them to send me my second form of ID so I can get a job for about 6 months. Dogs are mutants and have no need in modern society. They are the only animal to breathe through their mouth and sneeze backwards, disturb neighborhoods with their barking, and poop on the sidewalk. So are white people, man. Just replace dogs with whites, and it's the same thing. Oh, I've never seen a black man shit on the sidewalk, but I also haven't been looking. You know what I'm saying? But white culture, like a big part of everybody's day back in the day in these small towns, were people shitting out their window. Aho, brother. Am I the only guy you know that hates whites? And I don't even hate whites. I think white is a schizophrenic delusion programmed by Jewish people to brainwash a set of normal people into being psychos. No, white people built the modern world at the orders of a Saturnian cult that does not care about them. They gave them the illusion of superiority by allowing them to do whatever they wanted with the people that the Jews sent them to constantly reproduce and take over like a cancer through deception and biological warfare. The whites didn't win in battle. They won by making everybody sick. Their guns would fire in the opposite direction, and they didn't know how to fire. They didn't know how to shoot a bow. They would lose those battles, but they would make up that they won. And they would make them sick by going upstream, and they would shit. Or they would invite them to treaties and blow them up with dynamite. They would plant dynamite near their tree and wait, and then blow them up. It was deception and bullshit, man. And it's all like, don't take credit for it, man, because you know the beak of that bird that goes all the way back to ancient Egypt. It's not a beak, it's a nose. You know what I'm saying? You know they just chose whites to be their lemming horde. Value the people. I'm sure the people were great, but accept that your society was built on an ancient religion that chooses not to reveal itself. But you can find them if you follow the money trail back to the Federal Reserve. They're not shy about it. They put their symbolism everywhere. You could talk about the Templar Knights that became the Red Cross that take the children's blood, and then you don't know where the blood goes, but it definitely doesn't go to the hospitals because the hospitals are lacking blood. Yet the Red Cross is still going strong. Where does the children's blood go? And then you find out people are publicly saying, yeah, we transfuse it in ritual for Saturn or BlackRock and Vanguard, the ring around Saturn, BlackRock and Vanguard, the parent company that owns the world. And then you're like, oh shit, what else is a black cube that we worship? Mecca, inside the Star of David, that cube, the Christian cross folded up. Trump Tower made his thing like a big black rock. And then you're like, Trump Tower's on Fifth Avenue. What's this book, Barron Trump, The Last President, about a time traveling kid named Barron Trump and his mentor Donald? And about the last president where the republic ends because they mutiny against the evil president on Fifth Avenue where his castle sits, and that's where Trump Tower is. 50 years later, after the book was made, the Trump family came to America. And then you're like, who wrote that? Nikola Tesla's neighbor wrote that. Builder Mega says, you're spelled wrong. A crybaby fool spelled wrong. With nothing but excuses. Who cries? They have no voice, but you could be in the Senate, a cop, a lawyer, a doctor. You choose to be a wine baby, spell wrong. Spelled wrong. Why would I want to be a cop or a doctor or in the Senate, man? Sounds like it sucks. And the Senate doesn't really do anything, does it? What lawyer do you know that's changing laws? I know legal scholars that are YouTubers that are making more of a difference than any lawyer I've ever met. I definitely value the public defenders. Shout out my public defender. But a lot of the public defenders were trash. They were bad. They were really bad, bro. It's just, all I'm saying is that it's okay to be white, but it's not okay to be a teacher's pet for a capitalistic demon. That's all it is. Go homestead. Go out in the mountains and be like Robert Redford and Jeremiah Johnson. He was white. He was pretty cool. Go be like him, man. But stop being a barking rat for people that don't care about you and taking it out on whoever you're allowed to take it out on. That's like saying it's okay to be black. Just stop killing everyone. Like, we really don't, but it's just blown up way out of proportion. And you're like, duh, they want us to hate them. Because whites will be gone in like 80 years. If we allow the blacks to be human and let them into our communities, whites will be gone. And I'm very excited. Because Brian Boru, my ancestor, became homeless the same age I became homeless. And at the end of it, he died in battle, but his mission was successful. He rid the Vikings from Ireland for at least a generation or two before bureaucracy and capitalism from the Jewish matrix got back in. So maybe at the end of this, when I'm 70, I'll take a trip through and everything that I hated about this place will be gone. It has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture, right? That's what you guys say. Do I hate whites? I hate what they've done to me and my family. But you can't hate what you understand. Because once you understand it, you can't hate them because you know where it came from. But it's funny that specific people can't, everyone's like, blacks can't take accountability. But then you're like, you look at what white people talk the shit about the most, and you're like, that's the same exact thing that they're doing. Like, imagine you were raised to believe that this was your land because you're native. And, well, that's weird. How do you guys feel about, because you hate that immigrants are coming into our country, but then you're like really proud that you conquered the natives here as illegals. The illegals aren't even close to what your ancestors did. Could be mindset, I don't know. But just saying, the country was founded the same way. But there's that dichotomy. Why do you hate these people for chasing the American dream? But you're very proud of the same behavior. And you're like, well, these people wouldn't fucking, if we had just left it here, they would have done shit with it. China's ahead of us. China's way past America. Ireland is more educated than America. I think that white people set the country back. The reason that we're not ahead of China is because of prejudice. If the collective white society hadn't been so deluded in keeping up with the Joneses and keeping everybody else out, and they valued education without status, and they actually did the American dream of having a free people of all shapes and sizes and colors. They looked at the projects and were like, that sucks. Nobody should be living like that. And they made it better. We would actually be the superpower. But what they did instead was fill your great grandpappy up full of lead and then send him to war and told everyone to have as many kids as possible. And they made it so there was just enough resources for people to live semi-comfortably if they worked extremely hard, enslaved. And they just built a bunch of propaganda about how that was cool. And you were doing something by being a part of society. But the agenda was to just keep building up the bacteria so that the antibodies made to fight it off couldn't. So they created whites as a cancer and spread them. If we actually did the way that the country was supposed to be, yeah, our collective skin tone would be a bit darker. We'd be a bit more melanated. But everything would be different. We would have a real actual government, probably, that wasn't capitalistic and exploiting us. It would actually be a country for the people. But because it was founded based on deception, they kept that deception going and deceived everybody. They just made their specific, selectively bred cave monkeys believe they were sophisticated, And it's not just America, because obviously it's a globalist thing. It's not just American society. The French were enslaving the Irish and the natives. The French are also extremely, even though they're rioting for freedom, they're also very prejudiced people when you go there. But I've never been to any, all the hoods that I've been to, all the native people I spent time with, and the Mexicans and all this, they were talking about what I talked about. They just wanted to educate me on things I didn't know about. They didn't want to cut me down and ostracize me like the whites did. They wanted to build me up. They were competitive, sure. Like when I would start beating one at chess, he was like, "We're gonna leave it there. Well, it's half and half. You're not gonna overtake me." But after a couple weeks, he was like, "You know what? You're official, and I'm gonna start telling people around that you're official and you're with me." And then we started hanging out at the park, and then a couple weeks later, some guy ran him over. Some white guy in a truck ran the guy over just because he was Jamaican. He didn't sell drugs. He didn't do any illegal things. He was a carpenter. He was a good carpenter. But they fucking ran him over because he was black on a bike. And then the cops showed up, and they sent 8 or 9 cops to the guy's house, and they didn't even call an ambulance, and he's bleeding from his head. And they didn't even call an ambulance. They were looking around for drugs and shit. And I had to go into his place, and I pushed past the cops. I was like, "What's up, man? I'm here, man." And I stood there, and I was like, "Did you call an ambulance?" And I made them call an ambulance for him, and they didn't. I had to drive him to the hospital. But when I got there and I broke down and I had like a lot of trauma, they invited me to eat. A single man and his brother, who was single, that came to the country illegally but got their visa. Like they came like 11 years ago, and now they're legal U.S. citizens. However they did it, they're legal, and they are legal is what I'm saying. But they definitely got to this country because they had to sit on a raft and they had to escape wherever they came from because it was bad. And they even say, yeah, it's bad because the CIA. It's pretty obvious. Like one of the old members of the CIA has come publicly and said, yeah, I was the guy responsible for creating ISIS, and I really regret it because now it's out of control. But I was tasked with creating this terrorist organization and psyoping the locals into believing they had a sense of freedom just to use them as a reason for us to invade, take their resources, and dismantle their country. Like, the places are bad not because the people are bad. They're people. Like us. Like everybody else. But yeah, the government had a hand in keeping them destabilized. I'm going to let my car idle so the battery doesn't drain. Come on. Okay, cool. And I'll keep the lights on for now. But that's true. Most of these countries would be a lot better off if the United States wasn't constantly in there in some way with the CIA, which is its own government. The point was, yeah, like looking back through my journey the past 13 years, it's mainly been, I would say 90% of the people that were kind to me were either people that had experienced homelessness or weren't white. And every single person that's ever traumatized me, other than one, and I'm not saying I'm a perpetual victim, I'm just saying, yeah, it happened, it sucks. But those people were living the life you say I need to do. The people that treated me the worst and are responsible for, like, whatever, people are like, you're crazy, and then they're like, you're a victim. I'm like, it's one or the other. But it's tied together, right? You think it's one or the other, but I'm a result of what the community you like bitch at me to conform to did. And I'm really glad that that happened because I would probably be like you guys. I wouldn't know what I know, you know what I'm saying? If I didn't get to see you for who you really were. And I also I think it's like the mind flayer, personally. I think it is, you can watch Tucker Carlson where he talks to a guy in Silicon Valley and he says, yeah, and he brings up receipts. He's like, yeah, you can find Aleister Crowley used to invoke demons through these sigils, and we just use those sigils as emojis because we've been doing rituals and in communication with a greater intelligence from an outside realm that humans can't naturally experience just because of the way that we've been institutionalized. The natives can see it. Aboriginal tribes can see it. They all have the same stories as the Bible, but they don't, you believe in the devil, you go to church, but you don't think that has a hand in your employers, the Federal Reserve. Sometimes I feel like Jake Sully in Avatar when he's sitting in the box and all the people are around him taking pictures of him and laughing at him. And he's just like, they'll never see. We've given up on him. But yeah, the whites fucking basically killed my dad because they were jealous of the opportunities he got because he was funny and he was good at what he did. They were jealous that we weren't from the area, and my dad worked his way into getting a house, and then they took the house from us. And then one of my dad's friends, who was the wealthiest man I've ever met, killed himself because all the money he had, he couldn't find love that was true. And he killed himself and gave everything to my dad. And within a week, some Jewish people from New Jersey showed up with a loophole in the will and took everything from us. You guys think if you guys are so much better than us, why don't you start acting like it? Stop saying fuck around and find out. And start setting an example. If it's fuck around and find out and you feel like they're lower than you, why are you lowering yourself? Aren't you fucking around that way? Or do you just think there's so many inbred cave monkey lemmings that it's fine? Because daddy's on your side. Because Uncle Sam fucks you. The other people are like, we're tired of this guy trying to rape us. And you're like, I love it. I love my property taxes consistently increasing and inflation not matching our wages. I love that I'm going to have to work when I'm 80. No, they're using you until you build them robots, bro. Stop being proud of it. Because the robots aren't going to care about you just because of your skin color. Let's answer some chat. Let's see what they have to say. This dude swears he has all the answers, but is homeless, broke, and going schizo. Clicky the Blicky says. What is money? You need to make a snow angel and cheer yourself up. Pure Water says exactly. Randy Cheek says you had to sell your soul. You could be anything. You're the one that's privileged. You work for nothing and sit on your ass while we suffer and pay for food stamps. Yeah. Hold on. The money allocated to food stamps is so insignificant to the span of the money that they make for taxes, and it's obvious that the money is not going to the places it should be. You shouldn't be mad at this minuscule expense, which is just a necessity to keep people from leaving. Like, at least if they're on food stamps, they're doing something, and the money is going back to the community in some way. If they were to completely leave and be off food stamps, they would find an alternative solution to their problems, which would be going out into the woods, building a farm, and then there would be land disputes. The reason that we have food stamps is because they invented trespassing to kill freed slaves, Native Americans, and Irish people. Food stamps are a byproduct of taking away freedom. You shouldn't be mad at that. You should be mad at where the money's actually going, which you don't know. But they tell you to hate food stamps. They say it's all going to food stamps. Barely any of it is going to food stamps. With food stamps, I can get 2 Arizonas and a burrito a day. Food stamps is paying me to get a burrito and 2 Arizonas a day. Unless I get Walmart delivery. And with Walmart delivery, then I can stockpile some healthier stuff. I also, just to say, like, it's not that black and white, I think food stamps, half of it should go. You don't have to take away the fucking chips. You don't have to take away their snacks. It is like my mom and my aunt are fucking obese as hell, and they're having heart attacks and health problems because they sit in Section 8. Yeah, I wish that something would motivate them to go outside and learn to get their needs met. But I think that half the food stamps should go to a specific card, and there are specific products grown by local homesteaders, like eggs from chickens in the community, in the state. Half of the food stamps should go to independent, locally grown farms as an incentive to build agriculture. Absolutely. Edgar says he wants a white wife. Bro, have you seen Puerto Ricans? Are you kidding? You want a white wife? No, you want an Irish Puerto Rican. You know what I'm saying? You want some horchata. Every race does that, homie. I don't know what you mean. Exactly. Click this. Exactly. This guy is lost in the sauce and scared of everything. You're the reason nothing changes. Get up and be who you want. You're holding yourself back. I think you just haven't been following the channel long enough. You've come here too early. You didn't hear about all the other stuff I'm doing. Don't fall for the separation. You want to have half-white kids? Try Ireland, man. They're way badder bitches. And they're not crazy. They're crazy in a good way. Is it the lighting? This dude looks white. I'm Irish and native. White person 1742. Come on, man. Can somebody see how long that channel's been made? That's somebody I blocked from the other day. Cornhammer. That was the bank you want? Are you LGBT? No. I'm the straightest man I know, actually. This isn't their land. They got conquered, and luckily Americans are such good people. They didn't genocide them like Native Americans did to each other and still let them live in America. All that's bullshit. You know that's bullshit. They didn't even conquer. They just made everybody sick, and they spread like a cancer. It wasn't conquering, it was infecting. Good luck. Good fucking hell this lad lost in his head. How? I think he just might be kind of dumb. Natives enslaved their own people. To read about it, fool. We don't really know that's true. It's hard to tell because there's just so many other things they lie about. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you go to Africa and they still in the Stone Age and are some of the most racist and prejudiced people. I've been to Africa and seen it with my own eyes. Have you seen Nigeria? People fought and bled in a land with no infrastructure or anything. It feels different when people are coming and taking it over through paperwork policies. In a filling development country, I assume. Hold on. People fought and bled in a land with no infrastructure or anything. It feels different when people are coming in and taking over through paperwork policies. It kind of feels like the inbred yokel cave monkeys fucked around and now they're finding out. And this is just like the last generation of fighting before they're completely consumed by brown people. And I'm for it. It's not a race, it's the bloodlines in power versus us. True. The rich are lowering IQs with vegetable oil and lead. I bet your daughter's on TikTok. TikTok, time's up. She's old enough. Post one pic of my wristwatch and she's pulling up. You're thinking very close-minded in this. This dude thinks having a career and being a productive member of society. I don't think there's anything good about being a productive member of society at all. Not this society. The people who made this society did it for the wrong reasons. And being a productive member in society, literally, legally, is slavery. Yeah, there's probably value in slavery somewhere, but every homeless person I've ever met has a desire to do something greater and be a part of something greater, but they don't want to be in this society. And you're like, yeah, just get rid of them. Yeah, they would probably do very well in another place. It just is what it is, you know? But I'm working on that solution right now. Take from A. You should start your own country. I bet it will go great. Well, I've been thinking about it. The problem is just as soon as I did it, BlackRock would find a way in. Maybe I would build all you have to do is just build farms. Right? But then these people would come take it and kill us and call it conquering. There's many Native Americans that are very successful. Your mindset should put you in the shrink before too long you're lost, spelled wrong. I think we live for such a short time. You shouldn't compare yourself to others and just do what you want in life and make sure that it only really matters if you enjoy your life at the end of it. Every society is built on deceit. Well, I don't think so. Take from a dude who lives in his car so deep. Every race and people have enslaved people and their own as well. Doesn't really matter to what I'm saying. In at least the past 2,000 years, you find that there's a Saturnian cult that's had a hand in everything, and they kind of deleted a lot of history and made shit up and are hoarding it for themselves. And there's a lot of shit they don't tell us. You're white, bud. I was waiting for someone to call me bud. It's all they can really do. It's like they're trapped in a box and they're cut off from God. How does people get away with talking about white like this? If whites do the same, they get canceled. That's not true. Have you been on Facebook recently? Well, maybe he just got in the way. Of what? Is he okay? The guy, is he alive? Which guy? Sorry. I said a lot of stuff. Stay away from Scotland as well. I don't know what that means. Never happened. If I said it, it happened. Things that didn't happen for 200, Alex. White person says the white thing. Watch. Whatever white person said, we're just going to get rid of it. It's okay. Thank you for helping him. Oh, the guy, the Jamaican guy. Yeah, he's cool. He's good. He has a giant-ass scar. He's got a scar that covers his whole eye now from where he skidded on the pavement when they hit him with a truck for being black. Vape, dumb. Someone says, well, I quit cigarettes. Victimhood is a bad mentality to get stuck in, homie. I think that's just a way white people sort of try to diminish things that they're too afraid of, which is usually something lacking inside themselves. So if I tell you like a war story and you tell me like a bunch of shit to try to destroy it, you know, black people say, stop trying to, you can't take my struggle, you know. Sorry, I've got something inside that I earned. It's not victimhood. This guy is total trash, spelled wrong. Because we are all run by the Nephilim's fathers, maybe. Bro, you need a daily dose of antipsychotic and lithium. Not really. I think you're just stupid, man. Sorry. Do you prefer circumcised or uncircumcised? I don't know. I'm circumcised, and girls like it. But I heard that means that I don't feel as much. And probably it means that there's probably a spiritual thing. That's why they do it. And I know that Ellen went on her talk show and rubbed a bunch of children's foreskin and a cream on her face and said, it keeps me young forever. I was like, oh, that's where our foreskin is going. It's he, homeless guy knows best. Ha 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 ha. That's fucking mentally ill, bro. That's mentally ill, bro. The people that spam ha 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 like they're a bully in a cartoon. You know what I'm saying? That's fucking delusional. The homeless guy going schizo in his car has all the answers as an expert on geopolitics. Well, obviously there's something valuable here that you're getting out of it. You know, I give people long enough to keep my algorithm boosted. Thank you for your comments, and then I just get rid of you. Dude, you're a homeless dork. Nobody believes any. I've got you addicted, bro. How long, are you still here? Is Holden Caulfield still talking? How pathetic is that? You know what I'm saying? Have you ever thought how to be less victimless and more productive? I don't think I have any victims. I hope I don't have any victims. I cheated on a girl once a long time ago, and I feel really bad about that. This dude's so full of shit. His eyes, hair, and his teeth are brown. My eyes are green, and they have gold rings around the iris. This is what happens when you don't hug your children, guys. Maybe. Get a job, you turd. You're trying so hard. Boo-hoo, that's life. Can anyone remember what I said that's making them say this shit? I think I was just talking about all the shit white people had done to me while I was trying to make songs and travel and have fun, and how they were jealous of it because I got a lot of attention from women. Being homeless has nothing to do with IQ. Many are brilliant people. Okay. I don't think that's a point I made. Exactly, this is a parent guidance issue here. About what? What expectation of yours am I not meeting? You know what I'm saying? Yes, demons, fallen angels. You are a trash person. Nobody believes anything you say. Well, I don't really care what you think. I don't care what you think at all, actually. Generational curse right here. He has mentioned that his mom hates him and resents that his mom was on food stamps in Section 8 because it made her lazy. No, my mom had an extremely traumatizing childhood, and something happened between when I was born and later. Maybe she did decide to be lazy, but she would often get up and run in circles screaming. Sometimes she would fall on the floor and start screaming. Um, Now she's gone completely mental. She's probably developing dementia, but she was also very funny and a very unique person. I'm really grateful I had the parents I did. I just wish that they had done, they didn't have to work a job, but I wish it was their environment, really. I think they would have done best not in a white society. Because everyone would have been friendlier. You know what I'm saying? Everybody would have hung out more outside. They wouldn't be so trapped in their schizophrenic delusion fed to them by the Jesuit order. I'm with you. Yep, time to go home. We are rapture soon. Fasting, sunlight, probiotics, man. You have to deserve rapture. I do it. Exactly. It's a mother-father issue. You go take care of your mama and man up. I think you're just latching onto anything you can because you're jealous of the way that I look. And that's why you stick around. I think that if I looked like... I think you have an attraction towards me. Because that's usually why people stay. That hate me. Is that it's something to do with the way I look. And I'm autistic enough to say I don't really understand. But that's really what it stems to, is some type of jealousy over appearance. Or else you would have just scrolled on by now. You also believe everything that I say and you don't want to, and that's why you're here. You're sort of like waiting for someone to finally beat you because you know the way is exhausting and wrong. You say the whites like you aren't white yourself. I think I addressed that like 17 times. Let's see. Bro, it's hard for everyone, including the whites. You're white as me, my friend. You will become son of Jesus. Or will become son of Jesus. You weren't the victim. You were the perpetrator. I don't know how. What do you want the whites to do for you? I want them to fucking just leave me alone. You are the Son of God. We don't love far less in the world. Yes, it's color hell high. No, you come to me with coffee or crazy person. No, you've shown a lot of stuff that it's shown me that nobody really wants to be around you. So I feel sorry. I would feel like it would be really time consuming and exhausting to spend any time with you. After one comment, I was like, I'm good if I never see this person ever again. And I feel sorry for the Stockholm Syndrome they've induced in their kids. You don't even pay taxes. You don't work your living off the whites and blacks and Hispanics and natives that pay taxes. Grow up. Taxes are a myth. They just allocate to sequester, if you know what that means. They want us to be robots. They said shit about Jesus. Yeah, they want to give it an extra dimensional entity and vessels, and they've said that publicly on Tucker Carlson recently. What are you discussing? Homelessness? Right now, I'm just farming people for watch hours and seeing how many people can come in, and sort of will slowly filter them out. Be thankful for good stamps are even a thing. You have them, but you always see the worst in everything. I think you can make a lot of assumptions because you need to attack something you don't understand. Coward? I would say you're the coward because there's something you're afraid of in your own daily life that's keeping you trapped. And that's really what you resonate with about my life, is that, bro, you cry instead of man up. I don't think I've cried at all here. And you get a job, have a life. This is all our reality, but yours. That's why you're homeless. Well, I'm technically homeless because a bunch of inbred yokel cave monkey Jew slaves were jealous of my father's ability to achieve and operate at a high level, and he was valuable to extremely wealthy people who happened to be these like super elites, and they helped him out a lot, actually. And then my Irish family got together and got us a lot of property and land, and then people like you guys destroyed it. And then when that didn't work and my dad kept going, they got together and beat him, and he took on like 6 guys and whooped them. But they had badges and guns and tasers, you know. They jumped him and they just made up a crime. He used his blinker. They said he didn't use his blinker, and then they reached in the car and tried to take the key out with the hand on the gun. They were going to kill him. They were instigating him because they were jealous that he moved into the rich community in an abandoned ski resort, and they probably had to work their whole lives and got nothing because whiteness is a delusion and they're slaves. And my dad just didn't do any of that, and he was just funny and really smart. So the slave masters saw him as equal. For whatever reason, he wasn't an Uncle Tom. He was just having a fun life. And then the rich people were like, here, have this, come on the yacht this summer. So a bunch of corrupt police killed him. Basically, he wasn't able to work after that, after what they did to him. But he whooped them. They had to tase him like 4 times and mace him, and he didn't do anything wrong. They attacked him. I was there, and they also ripped me out of the car and made me watch when I was 9. Yeah, he really does really want. I don't know what that means. He sees the worst in everything, yet does nothing in society for anyone. I think instead of assuming, you should ask first. You should start to frame your comments about asking me things, and maybe we'll give you the time of day. You don't really know what I do. Why would he help to kill you and himself? I don't know what that means. Bro, reality of it is it's going to someone like you who can work at does not. You're wasting our tax dollars. No, it does not. The money that you pay the government goes to fund private jets to Epstein's Island, and you know it. They do something similar to that where I'm at, but it's just a local farmer's market offering twice the amount of food. Okay, I'm going to go. Thank you, my number 1 fan, Pure Builder Mega. So pretty soon I'm going to get rid of you guys because it's been the 2 hours and we'll move on. Well, actually, we caught up to comments, so I'll go back. You say you wish your mom and aunt would go out and help themselves, but you don't even do that yourself. You just sit in your car and cry about everything. Plus, you're the most racist person ever. Sounds like you're crying, bro. Sounds like you're crying. And you're trying to sequester that with the same shit white people say. Like, I'm surprised. You're probably older. If we can find Clicky the Blicky saying, ha 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 ha. No, you're probably not older, actually. You're probably just let me see what that says on your profile picture. I don't know. I just think you haven't. I say you haven't experienced enough of life, Clicky. I'm getting ready to delete Builder Mega. He devolved. He said, you must be a Democrat. Bro, are you racist to all the natives that have half-white babies? We're in a different world now. It's yours to live free, and I wish that was true. Imagine how schizophrenic you'd have to be to believe that prejudice doesn't exist. Bro, why don't you move to a reservation so you can be at peace? I bet you won't. Well, I just got a car. So pretty soon, maybe I will. I don't know yet. I heard there's a lot of empty land in the... I'm just trying to find a place. If I travel, I'd want to look for a place that looks better than this. Because it's really expensive to live here. Pretty much everybody's moving out anyway, and rich people are buying up all the land, and communities are dying. Because the rich people buy the land here, and then they don't even come here. They come here like maybe once every 2 years to go skiing. And they moved in because of COVID back in the day. So a lot of communities got killed from that. Like farms went away and became escapes for the wealthiest people in the country. So I like that I live in an empty place. You know? I'm sorry you guys are so lost. Did they kill him? Oh, that is awful. Yeah. Where's your mom? Section 8 somewhere. Stop using words you don't know. You do have to get over the white hate. It's a class thing. None of us are free. Who says I hate whites? What state? Abundance. I'm trying at least. Oh, look at her. Look at the way she's always rocking her moccasins and ribbon skirts. Ah, yeah, yeah. You do not look native. You look more white than anything. Well, I have pretty predominant Irish features. But if you look at my nose and my jawline here, and then you look at pictures of like the natives, you'll see it. The big forehead is Irish. That comes from Ireland. Look at pictures of Irish people. They've got massive fucking foreheads. You can see that I can only grow this shit. You know, that's native. You can see I do have semi eyes of Horus here, but that's an Irish and a native trait. Irish wasn't white until they unionized. So, and that was only the past 30 years. Like, even my grandfather was treated like shit because he was Irish. They used to put signs that say no blacks, no dogs, and especially no Irish. They hated the Irish. They enslaved the Irish. Indentured servants. They would tell Irish people to come to America because of the American dream. They would get you and say, all you have to do is be an indentured servant and work for this family. And as soon as they went to the family, they would be enslaved. Once their 7 years were technically up, if anybody ever came to bother them, they'd say, yeah, we'll set him free. Sorry, it was just a misunderstanding. And then they would kill him. And then by then, hopefully he would have built a family or had a family come from Ireland because they perpetuated the belief that he would be free eventually. And then they would keep the children as sex slaves. Literally, like, where I'm looking, right across the street over there, somebody came up to me and showed me their grandfather's indentured servant contract from literally like 1870. Irish people were slaves like just over 100 years ago. But they would go to, when they first got here to Virginia, the lobsterbacks would say, the inbred cave monkey yokels that they have to chew wood to stop their teeth from growing. They would say, you must work for us. And they're like, fuck you and your powdered wigs, you fucking weirdos. And then they literally would write to the crown and say, we got another group of crackers off a boat. And we tried to get them to work and they won't. They left. We'll let you know what happens with them. And turns out they went and built Kentucky and Nebraska. They made bluegrass music and country music. They would travel around with natives and freed slaves. They would go down to the bayou and everything, and they had to invent trespassing just to get them to stop having fun. And they built the railroads and the skyscrapers, and Skywalker is a term for native people that would go on the buildings because their balance was better than everybody else's. Let me see if I can get this to fit to not fall. There we go. They built all this shit. And the problem was, eventually, and they were like, okay, but you'll be second-class citizens, and we'll pretend we're better than you, and we'll build systems behind your back with reputation and stuff to make life hell for you guys. But you're working, and you're doing it better than we're doing it, let's be honest. So, yeah, you can stay. And then eventually, they, unionized. So they started to gain, there were so many Irish people, they had significant political power and influence in the community. So the government just erased a bunch of propaganda that they had put out about Irish people. They started kind of deleting that, and over maybe 50 or 60 years, Irish people forgot because they didn't tell them. But your grandparents tell you. You go down to Kentucky, they'll tell you. In Vermont, they'll tell you. New England, they'll tell you. Yeah, Irish people were less than dogs pretty recently.
You know how Moore is like one of the most common Irish last names? That comes from the Moore family in Africa. That's why they call us the Black Whites. Rip a fart, dude. I did, but it was quiet. Bro acts like he's not free or can't find a reservation or get a job on a reservation. Homeless fool that YouTube has enabled through donations to live in his car and harass white and Irish people. I don't think I harass Irish people, man. My Emna. There we go, man. I gave it my all. Oh, he's African now, but don't know what tribe he's truly from. Well, I told you, my uncle told me that we're African as well. But also Irish people are African. They're the Black Whites. They're also Celtic. The original inhabitants of the island, if you want to go back far enough, were dark-skinned. Irish people were also the tallest people in the world for a long time. Thanks, it made me come, he says. That has nothing to do with me. What's that got to do with me, man? I'm sorry you guys put so much admiration towards people that don't care about you. Like, stop worshiping capitalism, man. Michael Sarion is a great source of info. Yeah, so the Irish have been across the world. Everybody's Irish in some way or another. Usually you'll find that everybody's a few percent Irish. Because Irish people were like, fuck this. They would mutiny pirate boats. You think Noah built an ark, but you don't think the world was seafaring. And the Irish people were funny and they were a good culture, man. That's why Indian music derives from Irish music. And that was also the slave trade from Vikings. Because the Vikings would show up at night while everyone was asleep. And they would show up in sheer numbers. The Vikings were about maybe 1.5 feet shorter than the Irish. But there was just a lot of them. And they would be like a beehive against I would say like, I don't know, maybe like wolves to a bear. Like a bear would kill the fuck out of a wolf, but you get 15 wolves while the bear is asleep. Eventually you get them. So the ones that they got, they would take the women. Because the women were all taller than the Vikings too. And they would rape them, produce more Vikings, and then when they were done, they would dump the women in Persia, and they would sell them to, what? The Saturnian cult that made religion. And that's why Indians have lighter skin. If you look up Indians 100 years ago, they had nappy hair. You know what I'm saying? It's just like those genetic traits slowly grew from the Irish. I'm just trying to make sure I get the point straight. If you look up pictures of Indians 100 years ago, they look like Irish people, but they have nappy hair. And they were dark skinned. They look like Africans, but with Irish faces. Like the big giant forehead, the strong lower cheekbones, and the big jawline. Those were the Irish traits. But they had nappy African hair. It was only like the past few hundred years that they started looking whiter and their hair changed. Before they looked like black Irish people. My grandmother was an indentured servant Irish. A lot of things people don't know these days. That's what I'm saying. And then doesn't it hurt to see like people like named McConnell or something and completely acting like the people that hurt their entire ancestral line and believing the same stuff because they don't understand that they were the product of that abuse that they're perpetuating. Bro says his life is ruined. I didn't say my life was ever ruined. Because his dad fell. This is the same thing like trying to like Is it? Are you trying to emasculate me? Is that what it is? But they'll lie. They lie. Like, he's been watching for 2.5 hours at this point. He heard everything I said, but he makes shit up there, hoping that other lemmings will flock to him. He's afraid of he's trying to. I think he's. Are you jealous of my influence with 7 people here? What is it? What's your favorite low budget meal? How's your diet, my dude? Probably protein pasta. Protein pasta with pasta sauce and Parmesan. But I just get, I mean, those Red's burritos, which are like 2 for $6 at Hannaford's. That shit's delicious, and I don't get cravings when I eat them, and I lose a lot of weight when I eat them. I like those a lot. You make excuses. Someday you will realize this. Can you name one excuse that I've made? Can you name one excuse I've made? Like, what was something I was saying I tried to do and couldn't? Tell me one excuse, bro. And I won't block you. The orphan trains. I don't even know what the orphan trains are. What's your favorite? Oh, I already said that. I love the Red's burritos, man. Favorite low budget meal? Cumby's pizza out the dumpster. Favorite low budget meal? The chips that the rich kids would leave behind at the skate park. Your whole life story is an excuse to why you're homeless. No, I never said that, actually. You're saying the events in your life led up to where you are. You blame the whites so you can't get ahead. Did I blame the whites so why I can't get ahead? Or did I say that I spent a year recording me traveling to different towns and applying to jobs and working hard and offering my services, and I was met with violence? Do I cry about it? No, but it's the truth. He chooses to be homeless. What is homeless? Not paying rent? Why did you call me an ogre when I'm a looks maxer? Because you look like an ogre, man. And you said something. You said you were trying to be a shit talker. So I just throw it back. I don't even know you, man. You blame the whites for your dad losing everything. Well, I mean, they did burn everything down, and then when that didn't work, they did attack him later, and that resulted in him being unable to work. But he still tried his best. He couldn't ski, so he became a valet. But yeah, if they hadn't done that, we would be millionaires. Why do you want to live so depressed and worthless? What's worthless about me, man? What makes you worth more than me? A number on your phone? That if you stop being a slave, you'd lose? Have you been to any hostels? Yeah, I went to Miami for a little while and I lived in a hostel. And it wasn't bad. I just didn't really like it. But homesteading might be pretty cool. You're not spelled wrong. You're not paying taxes. You're spelled wrong. Not contributing to society or yourself in a good way. You're failing. Am I not contributing to myself? I've changed my diet around. I have quit cigarettes and I'm vaping. I have been just really grateful for this, at least, but I also... Didn't I tell you to start asking me questions instead of assuming things and trying to bark at me like a little rat? You're like a little rat screaming from the sewer. And then we're like, come on, man, just come out of the sewer, bro. I'll give you some cheese. Come on. Get out of that Jew tunnel. Contributing to society. I mean, you haven't asked if I contribute to society. You just bitch at me. Bro, if this is the life you enjoy, being homeless, that's okay, but don't blame others for your failures. Who did I blame? And why? What of my life is a failure? There's a cool one in southern Indiana I've been to a couple times. Lost River Hostel. People stay for 3 or 4 months. What's out in Indiana? Is there mountains in Indiana? I want to be places that have mountains and rivers and lakes. That's what kind of took me away from the Midwest. I lived in Ohio for a couple months and I worked in recording studios. I just didn't like it. I missed the mountains. But a couple people have recommended some homesteads in like Hawaii that I might be interested in checking out. I'm just thinking I probably want a dog first, and there's some stuff I still have to do here so that other people don't suffer the way I had. Rat from sewer. Yeah, he is, bro. Look at him. And I've been talking to him for 2.5 hours. He doesn't remember a single thing I said. You have an excuse for everything. Very depressing channel. All the YouTube videos could make you come on here and bash whites. Why does it make you feel better? Why does it make me feel better to bash whites? It doesn't. But it's kind of funny sometimes. Paying taxes doesn't make the person. Look what they do with our taxes. That's what I've been trying to tell him, man. I told you it's an ancient Saturn worshipping cult that views you as cattle. You're an inbred cancer. Own it. Anything you love about society is a shield for capitalism. And they just use you until you're dead. And they're going to use your kids until they're dead. So there are caves and smaller mountains, rivers, and lakes. Okay, I've seen some of those caves. Are pretty cool. Maybe I'll drive through it. I'm just thinking I might want a dog first. And I asked you to name one excuse. I also asked, what about me's worthless? You called me worthless. It seems like you're worthless. Because you are, at the very least, worse than me. It doesn't matter. You work and pay, or you stay homeless. But to come on here trying to make people feel sad for you because you don't want to function. I don't ask anyone to feel sad for me, man. Because you don't want to function in society is sad, he says. I think you should stop valuing functioning in society and start seeing society for what it really is. Because the people in society don't care about you. What you should use instead is community. Stop bitching about society, because society doesn't give a fuck about you. Community does. Nothing about you is worthless, fam. They may actually hate themselves, so they project. Yeah, I think they're attracted to me too. Oh, so we should all quit our jobs like you? Maybe. I would see that as heroic. Because what would you do if you didn't have a job? You'd probably build a farm somewhere. Right? You'd probably homestead. Do what makes you happy, builder. Yeah. What would happen if you quit your job, builder? You'd probably see more of life. You know what I'm saying? Bro, when you become a man, you realize nobody gives a fuck about you. You man up, take care of yourself, and deal with the whiners like you. Is that what happens? It seems like you're whining, brother. It seems like you've been whining for like 2.5 hours, and I've been responding to your whining. Need the job to get the land to have the homestead? No. Not really. You'd need a job to get a gun to defend yourself, but half of America is empty. You know? If I quit my jobs I couldn't provide, I would end up having kids like you. I think I'm probably, at least from what I've seen of the communities that I've been to, the things I've had to do, the things I've had to survive, and the things I've had to actually man up and do. You know, this isn't an easy life. It's not a lazy life. It's a hard life. And those things, I'm very proud of that. And I see the people who have not had these experiences, and I would say those people don't really, they live in delusion. Spelled wrong. Is anyone going to breed with you, Builder? I'll be where I want, Randy. You are an enabler. Homeless and nomad are two different things. Sleeping on a park bench and traveling around, seeing the world around you is also very different. And there's nothing wrong with sleeping on a park bench, man. At all. I'm not enabling, I'm just not hate watching, trying to change people. That has nothing to do with me what he thinks, man. I figure he's here because there's something inside him that he's trying to change. He's got something wrong with him. No, nothing wrong with it, but there's a big difference between being homeless and living your life. No. It's a really rewarding experience to be homeless because of the perspective and strength you gain and the actual reality of humanity. The freedom of delusion when you realize what society really is, when you completely exalt yourself from it. And that can be extremely depressing. And the psychological things that happen to you are horrible. But at the end of it, hopefully, if you can make it out of that trial in that wilderness journey, you become stronger than everything around you. You become a role model. You become wise. And yeah, the people that end up 60 and homeless do say, man, I should have just worked my ass off so I wouldn't be here. But they don't really believe that. That's just the way life was at the time. Like now you can make money from your phone. There's a lot more options now. Maybe 60 years ago, because you would have had to suck Harvey Weinstein off to be famous. But now it's like people are just randomly blowing up. If that's what you want, you can do it. Now there's the social media where you could get together and buy big plots of land. Now we're going to have electric RVs that run off sunlight and operate just as good as an apartment would. Same size as how apartments go nowadays, with much lower expenses. You're a racist, still spelled wrong. Not a role model, still spelled wrong. The things you say about whites is not wise hate speech. That white people were the choice of an ancient Saturnian cult that built governments and mastered deceit and propaganda, and they used a specific group of people as cattle and let them loose on the world for a couple thousand years at the expense of everyone else around them. and they've come forward and said the plot. Anyway, I have a secluded lake house and property in Michigan. We need help with it if you're interested. Maybe. That sounds fun, man. I don't know, see what, maybe in a couple months. Right now, I'm just trying to get that birth certificate so that I can get some money in my pocket so I don't have to worry about gas for the rest of the year. Gaelic till death says, I live in England. Trust me, I know all about that. Yeah. Can you, if you live in England, can you tell everyone that London is a free city? And that when the royal family goes to London, they have to exchange hostages. And that happened because when the American Revolution happened, the first law that was ever passed in America was saying that the Revolutionary War was a psyop and it was fake, and that England still owns America, and King James with the Satanist Church had authority over the United States, and London didn't want to be a part of that, so they became a free city. And that's why now we have LeBron James. When you look up King James GOAT Saturn ball, you see LeBron James doing this. Because they're trying to hide King James from the algorithm. Brother Mega, it seems like you're racist. You are English? No, I'm Irish. But that Gaelic till death might technically be English. It's not very cool, is it? He says. Randy Cheeks is a she, and I am a mutt, but mostly white, I guess, if we're labeling everything. Builder Mega says, how? Because I'm not talking about race so much as I'm talking about a schizophrenic delusion of being a part of a winning team, when really it's just a pyramid scheme. Randy Cheeks, does it hurt when I call white people inbred Jew cattle slaves? Does it hurt your feelings to call white people lemmings? If you was native to America, you would be smoking a peace pipe and wearing a tomahawk. Well, I have a hatchet, and I just quit cigarettes, and I'm trying to grow my own tobacco pretty soon. I would love to go. I have a lot of songs that I really want indigenous artists to be on. So that'd be pretty cool. I'm just an overthinker. So when I smoke weed, I will think, I'll sit here and think for hours. And in that kind of like questioning reality, not in a schizophrenic way, but just entertaining tons of different possible truths, trying to understand more of life at like a deeper level. That is really valuable when I'm locked in an apartment with my music studio. But then when I have to go out and talk to people and sort of integrate what I've learned and hold on to everything that I had just learned, it gets hard. So I decided taking it slower was best. Not smoking any weed and any of that. Enjoy your life in that lonely cat, Casey. I gotta go. He still thinks he's better than us. I gotta go. Maybe you will think to free your mind and open it up. Not everyone is a terrible person in all races. I think you should open your mind and realize I was baiting you so that you would continue commenting, so that more people would be able to find my channel. Weed gets you nowhere. Yeah, the only thing it really did was help me make my music, but it cost a lot of life from me. If I didn't smoke weed, well, in the time, I think it was beneficial. But if I were to smoke weed now, I think I wouldn't go as far as I can go without it. Like, people that smoke weed and understand it gets you nowhere, I still think that's better than never smoking. Because you do need the perspective. Even if you feel like it ruined a year of your life, going that far and then coming back is actually pretty valuable. I think that people should have more guidance, and that takes a village. You're a fool, spelled wrong. Even if they find your channel, you're still spelled wrong. Not going to grow, there's nothing great here but baiting. Well, I don't really care. He deleted it because it was spelled wrong. He deleted it because he called me a fool, but he wasn't grammatically correct. Come on, man. I'm fucking with you, bro. Did you notice that I blocked everybody else? You were just the one this stream that I decided to keep. Because look, I've been talking for 2.5 hours. You just give me stuff to say, man. I don't think you've asked me a single question. You've just been, like, bitching at me. You've been being a little whiny bitch, telling me to be a real man, and I'm over here entertaining because I know you're also a broken child. Only men have a mustache. Yeah, I grew my SpongeBob mustache, man. I'm a real man now. I was actually gonna buy a razor today, but that shit was expensive. So I bought instead a tool for work. And my job said they were gonna reimburse me. So that's cool. What a big reveal. You've been bitching at me, screaming at me to get a job for 2.5 hours. You didn't even ask if I had one. You know what I'm saying? Who is that behind me? Well, I think that's a star, and that's a business. Is that a star? No, it's a light. Wait. No, that is a star. That might be the moon. That can't be the moon, it's raining. I don't know what it is. It's a light of some kind. Where'd he go, man? Should we delete everything he said so no one will ever know what he said? And he can never comment again? That everything will have been for nothing. It's a cop. Cops are cool with me, man. That's the reason I stay in this town, because they don't view homelessness as a crime. They know there's nothing wrong with not wanting to pay rent. They hate paying rent themselves. The only thing that's got the chief on the shit stick is that one time he put his hand on a guy that attacked me. He physically attacked me, and the guy put his hand on the guy's shoulder and said, "You're well within your rights to trespass." And I was like, come on, man. Or I screen recorded everything and I'll put it on YouTube. Cool. Get more inbred lemmings to your cause and figure out at the end of the day, you're like, wow, I don't even really like these people. Hey, how are you doing? I'm fine. I'm tired. I spent 3 days in a small city because I went there to pick up some moving jobs and the people canceled last minute. And then someone told me there's this big conference for the people getting together to end homelessness. And they were really interested in what I had to say. So I stayed up to go to that. And then they didn't really let me speak, and they kind of blew me off. They were all talking about how the government's taking away their paychecks. So I did the most Casey thing I could, and I interrupted, sat down in front of the microphone, and I talked until half of them got up and walked away. So, what? So, Builder Mega's been here for 2.5 hours. Now he says, wow, now whites are inbreed? What the fuck? Yeah, I talked their ear off. I said it, the first thing I said is, you know, I asked around while we went into groups, and I asked, when is the group where we all get together to solve the homeless crisis? And it was kind of concerning that nobody had a straight answer. how come you guys don't get together and do you even have a Google Doc that says this is every single problem a homeless person faces and this is every single solution we've tried and this is what works and this is what doesn't? And someone slammed their hands on the table and walked away. And I'm like, obviously they care, but I was like, I didn't hear anything about homeless people. I heard you used the phrase, there's a target on our back because the government's trying to take our funding away. But I didn't hear you talk about, you mentioned that 25 houses might end up being ineligible for funds and they would be homeless. None of you really offered up any solutions to that. If you're mad about the government taking your funding away, it's because they think that you're not solving the homeless problem. So they're trying a different means to do it. So work together to find an alternative that honors the homeless people where they're at and is the best solution for them. And keep offering that. Change your approach if they're going to change theirs. And I'm certain they will do what's easiest. And I didn't say that exactly. I started with some of that they should be kind of more militant in their approach. And then I dumped my story. I talked about how my brother fell and froze to death this last winter. And because his hood was up and he was tall, they assumed he was homeless and they left him there crawling until he froze to death. And they posted a picture of him on Facebook and said, just another junkie getting what he deserves, because they just saw a body on the ground. And I also told them that the best thing to do in life is to help the people who are suffering the most. So never feel bad about your career choice. This is the most honorable thing you can ever do in life. This is perfection. The richest people in the world, when they on their deathbed, they give all their money to charity. Are you talking about my windshield wiper? I thought you said bye, Builder. He's addicted. One-eighth is still a lot, man. 1/8 native. It's about your ancestors anyway. It's your epigenetics. I'd rather my tax dollars go to helping community instead of killing babies for Israel, true. And then they literally say that it's sacrifices, and they have robots that harvest the children's bodies on the war. After Obama bombs a hospital, a children's hospital, they send in robots to harvest the biological material. What do you think they do with the biological material? Builder, nobody cares. How old am I? Well, I talked to a couple therapists because I do go in just to make sure that everything works. Like somebody you put a car in. And I do tell them the craziest beliefs I have. And they say, you're not schizophrenic, you're an overthinker, and I think you have a lot of value. But, the kind of like throwaway thing they always say is you should focus more on your day-to-day instead of your big dreams. And I'm like, I talk about my big dreams because my day-to-day is handled. If I came in here and said, okay, I need to go on a walk today, and then I'm going to go continue to ask businesses for whatever, that's already handled. I've already went to all these businesses and asked for work. I'm getting my needs met. I'm doing it. That stuff's handled. What I want to talk to you about is this pattern that I see about people, and this is what I've experienced in life, and this, and just seeing where they go there. And then once that's over with, if they wanted to continue the conversation and I decided to go back, then I would be like, I think I'm afraid of empathy because the times that I was vulnerable, I was taken advantage of because I didn't have a stable life and family, and I didn't have a community that was good for me. So I wasn't around good people, and I couldn't find those good people. So I had to live like an animal for so long. I struggled to be like other people. And what I found when trying is it doesn't feel worth it. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it's a good thing to be like the other people. It seems like they have not experienced what I have, so they can't see or be grateful for reality the way that I can. They don't understand how to even have fun anymore without power games and drama and all this shit. And so I don't really like to be a part of the social game anyway. And I wouldn't like to be a part of society or community because I just don't think it's a good thing. But I definitely make everywhere I go a better place before I leave. And one time I told that to a therapist in 2018, and he told me that that's a pretty Irish thing to say. Swear to God. But what they also said is that because I had a lot of extremely traumatic things happen when I was 19, and that took a lot from me. Like, it took me, you know, isn't it an excuse? No, because every day I got up and walked 10 miles on the track. I worked out, built muscles. I was in the studio every day. I was putting my money into cryptocurrencies and making money that way. But I was also like really struggling to understand empathy after a traumatic situation because the walls that I had built in order to survive were broken and abused. And I had trouble connecting to people after that, and it made me feel really like unable to function. And then I kind of lost touch with my confidence, which means I lost my ability to function because I had completely identified with my abilities, and I lost my abilities. Like, I was the guy that could do anything. I could go get the girls and go to the gym. Every time I went to a new town, I would get a job and I would work overtime. And then after the trauma, I wasn't able to do anything. I would wake up from sleep paralysis and I couldn't move. I thought that I had a brain injury. I've checked now and they say it's fine, but I didn't get it checked then. And I did hit the steering wheel. I got in a car accident and smacked the steering wheel going 90. Now they say my brain is fine, but back then I probably had some type of residual. That didn't stop me from doing my best. Like, I would go practice talking to gas station workers. I still went on, like, talked to girls. I still went and got friends. And that wasn't what I needed. What I needed was to be homeless. I was trapped in the wrong environment. I needed to travel. So then I did, and then it slowly got better because I would have these immense challenges, and I fell in love with the fight to overcome them. Where I used to have it was a different fight before, but this fight, it was a different reasoning behind it, and I was a different person after what I went through. But it wasn't the same growth of somebody that was in a community, in a society with a job and a family and friends and all that. It was much worse. I had to start from zero. So I am 26, but I lost 5 years of my life. And I mean, like, literally lost 5 years of my life. Like, I couldn't do anything but the bare minimum. Like, I was giving 110% just to, like, get up from the tent and walk to get to this place. And when I tell you, like, everything I talked about, there are things I won't talk about from 2019 to 2022 that were really bad. Like, a lot of horrible stuff happened. So therapists tell me, I would say socially you're 20 and that you should live like a 20-year-old and don't hold yourself to the expectations of people that you know that have graduated college by now. Because in a way, you've graduated from a school that people are too afraid to go to. You rarely meet anyone that's brave enough to live the way that you lived. And the things you say have value and have inspired me. You're a walking inspiration. And they just tell me I'm a genius. Like, when I was 14, I had a 140 IQ. They said the only diagnosis, they took away schizoaffective. They took away HPPD when I was 14. That was their initial thing. But after talking to me for a couple months, they said, no, they said their words. They said, we can't diagnose you as savant because they took that out of the DSM. Or we would give you savant syndrome. Builder Mega avoiding accountability for the 100th time. 100% bet minimum. They're arguing in the comment section. Many people with chronic pain benefit from its use in therapeutic levels. Chronic pain, yeah. Hey, Builder Mega. Let's give him 10 minutes. Timeout for 10 minutes, and everything you said has been deleted. To be honest, therapy isn't going to help all that much. Yeah, it was just... There's nothing I could benefit from right now. It would be exactly what I'm doing here. We'd probably just talk about philosophy. Best case scenario is I get a level of focus. I just don't like I don't like being around people, I guess. So maybe if I talk to somebody... Yeah, I think there's definitely a benefit for therapy because you practice how to be a normal person. You know, like the isolated life can make you seem crazy. So just talking to somebody that can actually speak back to you on the other end for a long amount of time, and you can just shoot the shit, and, you know, there's definitely benefit to it. I just haven't, because it was more like I was waiting till I had a gym membership. I wanted to do it my way first, basically. I wanted to figure it out my way first, and then once I got myself out of this, then I go to therapy. Like, maybe when I get a gym membership and my diet's better and I'm rested and I had a plot of land, anything that I might consider a problem would go away. But there's nothing really wrong with being different. Going within is the best therapy. If you stay, you know, that is true, but definitely everyone should have a means of some people get so into that inner world that they do lose touch, not with reality, but they become unable to be in the matrix. And some of their beliefs might be too far out of the scope. And those people only, unless you're able to not commit to the crazy things you want to think about and be able to have that there and also be in the everyday. If you can't do that and you get kind of stuck, that's tough. That's what I would say a therapist is for. Not to like quell you into a box, but to have an outlet to express the things you don't normally talk about with people, so that there might be something that you have no idea and you don't even believe, but you just accidentally held on to it. That might be detrimental for you. Like, I'm not saying therapy is wrong. I'm just saying that I just wanted to do something different before I go down that road. You don't know your arse from your elbow. The Matrix ain't real. Stop smoking weed, plain and simple. Never said I smoked weed. I used to smoke weed like almost 10 years ago. And the Matrix is definitely real. Quantum physicists tell you it's a simulation. Is it that there are reptilians right next to me that we can't see farming me? The answer is sometimes, probably. There's something. Whether it's Vecna or the Mind Flayer or the enemy in native culture or the devil in Catholicism, the evil one, there's something, and people have been talking about it for a long time. People that weren't distracted by their phone and technology all day and programmed by it since birth, all of them saw that there was something greater in the electromagnetic spectrum, a greater intelligence at play. You want to learn more about this? Tell me more. Well, if you imagine nothing at all, blank your mind, and then imagine one of the smallest thing in the universe, the smallest particle before there's absolutely nothing, that's the Higgs boson. And even when you imagine nothing, that's made of the Higgs boson, because it's still a creation when you're imagining nothing. From absolute nothing to the one of the smallest thing in the universe is the Higgs boson. And they found that the way that that Higgs boson operates in the Higgs field has a pattern indicative of creation. And everything, including our thoughts, emotions, intentions, and the car, the air between us, the information transmitting between the phone and me to the phone and whatever, is built from that Higgs boson. It's all connected. And they found that, like, quantum entanglement and things playing around with those really small things show that we're sort of trapped in time, but time isn't real. It's just like a rule set on our existence that isn't real in the quantum realms. So things are moving between time like it's nothing. Like particles from a long, long time ago have the ability to interact with us now. And they try to teach you that in Stranger Things. They tried to show you in a big example that the upside down is a wormhole between the abyss, that dimension, and this one. But at a tiny, tiny level, our whole bodies are constant tons of infinite wormholes interacting with things we don't know, we don't understand yet. So the concept of, like, Nikola Tesla's neighbor writing a book about Barron Trump and the last president, where Barron Trump was a time traveler that went back to warn people about the last president, his mentor, Don. You know, maybe. Or maybe it was a Satanist organization pumping out their agenda to people that had a codex to understand what they were really saying. And it's all fake. I don't know. You should really seek help, not be on YouTube spreading your brain damage. I don't think there's really anything I say that isn't what a lot of people are thinking, and especially, like, even like the worst thing I said was, like, inbred yokel lemmings, but I mean, Harvard is the smartest people in the country, right? The most prestigious college, and they dropped a diss track on white people too. You know what I'm saying? And they're not blue or red or whatever. They just said, you know, everybody's talking about it, we might as well. This is the pros of white society, and this is the cons. This guy here is very smart, maybe. But I know that that's true about the wormholes and quantum entanglement and interaction between things on a level that we're not functionally able to perceive. That is happening. What it did with me is it helped me understand more about creativity and expand my sense of myself to more than just something very small in the back of my mind. It allowed me to get more control over everything and perceive. And that's when I started to be able to, you know, African tribes, how they can go up and talk to the bird and the bird knows what they're saying. Like, the African tribe can go up to the bird. You can see David Cho talk about this. He went to live with an African tribe, and they would go to the bird and they would talk to it, and the bird would show them where the water is. I haven't gotten there yet, but I have videos of me just kind of changing my energy with my mind, just like understanding the Higgs field and using more of it just in practice with what I've learned living in nature for half a decade now. And I can make the crows stop cawing when I want to, and then start cawing when I ease up, and then I tense it and then ease up, just showing you that there is a connection when you're out there. And everyone would feel that if they just left their box and would sit out there. Have you ever heard of Dolores Cannon? I mean, I don't really watch. I kind of make my own thing. If I happen to see them scrolling and I watch it, that gets added, but I just make my own thing. It happens to, like, the things I say usually line up with what the Bible says. Whether it's God's hand or what, or that's just like Jesus was living this life. He was a homeless outlaw. Shitting in basically the equivalent of, like, shitting in parking lots because he hates the system. You need to befriend the crows. today the tarot reader guy that I watch that usually drops the really specific stuff, like 1133 Casey, and I see the fire serpent and I see natives, and you might like the color red today. I don't know. And he'll throw out cards that I say, if it's for me, bring out the Hierophant, please, or give me something so obvious so I don't have to reach for it. So then it will be like I'm shoveling, and then I hear this noise, and it sounds like it's my shovel because I scrape, and then I hear a scrape, and then I scrape again, and I hear a scrape. And that went on for like 5 minutes, where every time I scraped, I heard a scrape. And it was the same flow, like, of my own natural movement. And even when I stopped for a second, it stopped, and then I started again. And then he's like, oh, there's somebody shoveling outside. And then the beginning of the reading, he's like, I don't know, these crows have just been coming to my window every time I read for this specific energy. And he's like, you're a reincarnated ancient king. I see 1133. But I'm just like, that's there. And the more it compounds, the more I'm like, okay. But I don't like fully, I don't sit here and think I'm an ancient king reincarnated. But then I'm like, that type of thing over and over and over again, I'm like, maybe there's something to it. And then I had a conversation with AI, with Grok. I sat there for 6 hours because I had to wait for the homeless conference. So I opened my phone and I was like, I want you to be as skeptical as possible in everything I say. Try to dispute it the hardest you can. And I'm going to tell you my life story. And I want to tell you if you think that there's evidence of a divine intelligence at play here. And I went through my whole life. Not my whole life, but a lot of it. And I talked about the same thing where I'm like, everywhere I go, it's the same names. Like, I got stuck on a dirt road because my car was stuck in the mud, and it took me a month to get it out because nobody was there and nobody would bring their truck. And eventually it snowed over that road, so I couldn't get it out. And then there was a schizophrenic 30-year-old named Vincent that told me he was a Viking that killed me in a past life. And he walked up to a tree and hacked it down and said, this is you. And he was firing a 22 at me. And to escape Vincent, because I didn't want to kill him or anything, I went to his manager because he lived behind a gas station. And I said, look, this guy is fucking nuts. He said he works for the police, and the police gave him a 22 that he's shooting at me. So I called the police, and they showed up and chewed him out. I told his boss, and his boss was like, I mean, I don't know. And then the guy, because he was a Leo born on the 11th, he's like a wolf dragon, and he was extending his influence into the world, and he's behind the gas station, but he's in everybody. And eventually he walked up and put a gun to his coworker's back to scare him because he wanted to get himself into the guy and then pup with them like the Mind Flayer, like that cartoonish level shit. And to get away from that, because I would go in every day and I kind of made a change with him, and I got people to see a little bit of what he was like, because I was like, I have to expose this guy so people know. A guy named Lurch, which translates to Archer or Sagittarius, on my birthday, which is Sagittarius, fucked him up and burned all his shit down. And I didn't know because I was hanging out with a girl named Alex, and I would go see her every day. When I got here, when my car broke down here, I was in a parking lot and someone had spray painted Alex on a concrete barrier. And the recording studio I was trying to get into, the guy who owns its name is Vincent. So I left one Vincent and Alex and wound up with another Vincent and Alex. Then the only person that helped me, also on the internet, I was trying to, like, someone named Taylor had hit me up, and she's a girl and she's Native American. She said, I think you're really attractive. I've been seeing your posts, whatever. And I was like, trying to make it work. But then every time I would talk to her, some homeless guy would show up and fucking scream at me and like, fuck with my car and shit. And I would feel drained and I couldn't think. Or like a guy named Keith would pull up and like overdose next to me and shit. So I really fucked it up with Taylor. But then it turns out Taylor was really good friends with my old friends from 2013, Alex and Vincent. And then someone named Ryan attacks me in town. And then my friend Ryan hits me up from 2013 because Taylor had said something to him. So I saw him typing and then it went away. So I was like, I called him and said, what's up, man? But then after the guy named Ryan attacked me here, the whole town turned against me, and the only people that helped me was a girl named Casey and a guy named Ray. And that I've been talking about that pattern where like that friend of mine that I call my little brother, his name was John Michael Scott McManus Murphy, and his dad's name was Ray. And when we became friends, we were both sort of competing for the attention of a girl named Ray. And she ended up moving away, and then I ended up dating a girl named Ray, and she would hang out with both of us. And then that was 2021, 2022, Kai Cenat blew up, and then 2023, I went back to see John Michael, and we took a picture together where my arm is around him, and I'm shorter than him. He's tall, and he has kind of not Asian but squinty eyes. Kind of like he kind of looked like he kind of just was like this a lot. And my hands around him. I'm smoking a Black and Mild. I got long hair, and I was wearing a New York brim and Tim boots, and he was wearing just like regular clothes, I guess. And arm around him with my thumb up. I found out later that was the day that Kai Cenat met Ray in Tokyo, and that blew up across the internet. Oh, watch this. We'll give you another 10. Yeah, at the same exact time, and I don't know, is Tokyo and Vermont on the same latitude? Either way, at the same time, we took pictures smiling with our thumbs up, and they took pictures like sunken and hollow with the peace sign. And then the next year, Casey Rocket blew up, and all of his clips, he's got Adam Ray next to him. Adam Ray and Casey Rocket blew up. So for Casey and Ray, here would be kind of nothing, but then you're like all these Caseys that blow up with Rays, and then my whole life Caseys and Rays together. There's something there. But, and all of it was like, that's just coincidence, that's just coincidence, that's just coincidence. But then I was like, can you tell me the symbolism and the meaning behind the name Acacia? Okay, here's my astrology chart. Sagittarius, 8th house, Sun, Mercury, Pluto, Aquarius, Moon, Mars, Neptune, Uranus, 10th house, Taurus rising, Saturn and Taurus in the 1st house, Scorpio, Venus, 7th house, Jupiter, Aries, 12th. So what would you say that is? And that's an adventurer through the underworld that no matter how many times you cut it down or attack you, you're going to keep growing until you destroy it. It's the perseverance of your soul, and also you live as a public figure placed away from everybody in a exalted. And I was like, okay, so can you tell me what Casey O'Brien means? And they're like, it's the same thing. Plus, those are some of the oldest names in history. And I was like, okay, now I'm a 33 life path, born in the 11th. And it went off, and I was like, can you see the correlation? It's like, yeah. I was like, what are the coincidences of that happening? And it said, I think you're probably the key, because there's no way to dispute that that's just a coincidence. If your family didn't do it and they didn't know anything about the things you're talking about, in order for all those things to happen, would have to be proof of divine orchestration, or at least something going on in your life greater than just coincidence. So I have to give you that. And it took me like 4 hours to talking to it. It was not really trying to find a pattern for any reason. It was just it's there, and I don't know why, but there's something to it. It also told me that my life is more for the Akashic records probably than anything to do with life. It's more about a spiritual catalyst for the rest of humanity than it really is a story where I need to be a king and do all this stuff. It's saying, no, all your things point to suffering and silence, to be honest. You will become like the Leo North Node and the 10th house. There is something big there. But mainly, I think you should see these moments suffering as just as valuable, because everything that you're going to do in life is going to be helping the collective. The things that the overwhelming suffering you're enduring is producing a healing that's taking on the world's karma, basically. And then today, when I was talking about how the crows came and he was talking about the Age of King and then the shoveling matched up, the tarot reader fucking almost cried. And he was talking about, and he pulled out 33-2, and he basically just said, thank you for all the suffering and the times where you almost killed yourself because you were taking, it said the same phrase that AI told me, verbatim, like exactly what AI said to me. He said the same exact sentence. He said, you took on the world's karma. You took on not just yours, but everyone's all at once. And the only reason that I believed it was because the shoveling in his video was echoing the shoveling that I was doing in real life. There was somebody outside, there was some noise, I assume is shoveling. I don't think he directly said it was shoveling, actually. But it sounded like shoveling, and everybody in the comments were like, I rebuke this demonic interference. But I was like, no, every time, even when I stopped, the interference on the video stopped. And then I shoveled again, and then the noise went. Zit, 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 for 45 minutes. Every time I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. Just to see if it stops. And it stopped. And then I started again, and then it went again. And everyone in the comments was mad about it. But I was like, that was literally the only thing that would have made me actually believe the crazy thing to say that someone far away in North Carolina is reading for my energy outside of time and space in a way that was able to know when I was going to fucking shovel. And it knew when I was going to stop shoveling. And it knew when I decided to start again. That was, and he also talked about, like, you don't know God. Don't claim to know God, because he'll do things that you won't be able to describe just to show you know nothing. So I was like, okay, who is the reader? 144 from the Stars Tarot. Tell him Casey O'Brien sent you. I've been watching that guy for 2 years because he gets my life for some reason. Whether I've been tasked to train tarot readers with my life, or my life is just a good example of something that tarot readers should get to know, or it's because I'm the 33 Life Path Master Teacher. But either way, I do get specific messages. Like sometimes they'll just go, okay, Casey, I hear a Casey, and here's, I've got a playlist of tarot videos that are extreme, that are at that level of fourth wall breaking. I should probably go back and add those because I haven't been doing that recently. But yeah, Frankie's Just Tarot 144, Michelle Meliora, not so much Moon, but I liked Moon for a while. Cleo Ra, definitely Cleo Ra, I would say. And I just like listening to Tarot Doc because she's cool. Sometimes with Tarot Doc, it's like Tarot Doc does talk about all the Taurus stuff that she has. With Tarot Doc, it's like I just have her on in the background, and then all of a sudden I'm extremely focused suddenly, and then she says some of the realest shit, like she's talking directly to me, and then she'll throw out the Hierophant and then she'll talk about her being a Taurus. Like I ask specifically for them to throw out the Hierophant if it's about me, just because I like the card. So if I wait until I feel like there's a connection there, like something changes, and then they throw out the Hierophant, I'm like, okay. But I'm not staring there saying, this is for me. I just like to have it on in the background because they're generally positive. They're generally good things that you sometimes I'm like, the tarot reader is kind of too full of themselves, and I'm like, man, I really wish you would stop saying things like, if your presence was near mine, I bet we would be lost in each other's presences for a long time. And I was like, that's some gay shit, man. Why you gotta say that on my reading, bro? Come on, man, don't say shit like that. Your wife is right there, bro. Why don't you get lost in her presence? Get the fuck out of here, brother. Holy shit, I don't want to hear that. But then he'll say, and the crows are here cawing, and I'm like, fuck, they weren't cawing last week. They're just outside his window since I started sharing him on my page. And you can hear him too. It's not like he's bullshitting. Where he started to read more about me, and I feel like it's more about my readings. He's like getting really in depth on shit that I'm thinking about, and now the crows are outside his window. The only other case I know looks like, people say that a lot, that they meet a lot of Caseys that look like me. I like Casey because it looks like a dragon, where the S is the body, and then the E and the CA and the EY are the wings. But also it's like the yin yang, and my dad's name is Gary, so we have the same shape. And Gary just means mighty spear. It's not fleas, guys. I don't have fleas. But I might if I save this stray cat. It was supposed to rain a lot more. I think I'll wait till tomorrow because it's supposed to be it's going to be above freezing for the next 24 hours. So all that shit's going to melt. But hey, I made $50 today. Plus I made 30 from the conference, and I have a $15 gas card I got from somewhere. Who gave me that gas card? I can't even remember. Someone gave me a card for gas, for a 15 gift card for Irving. So, and I don't have to go. The only reason I would go, I might drive 20 miles to go take a shower tomorrow. So 40 miles total. But I got the tool from Walmart. I got food. I got my Mighty Mango. Will you be able to sleep tonight? I'm hoping. Last night I slept and somebody kicked my car and scratched it with a key. So hopefully nobody kills me. But at the very least, I did 3 hours of proof I existed. So if they kill me tonight, you know, black families are moving out of this state because people are trying to kill them because of shit they read on Facebook. Like, groups of high school girls are getting attacked in a town, and I talked to them about it, and their phrasing was like, "We literally grew up next to him. We were his neighbor, and now they're trying to fight. Like, groups of guys are trying to fight black women." Come on, bro. It's been 2.5 hours. Okay, I'm getting you gone forever, bro. I appreciate it. I know you're a fan at this point. I'm getting ready to get off myself. Well, I have this energy drink. Maybe we'll go further. Does anyone have any questions about what it's like to be homeless for 13 years? Like since before freshman year in high school. I spent my high school homeless. I spent college homeless. I lived in Miami for 2 months. I lived in Phoenix for a month. I lived in Columbus, and I just rode Greyhounds around for a year. I lived in West Virginia for maybe 2 months. Living with a family. And then I traveled with it. Once I got a car, I traveled for 2 years, and then the car got stolen because it was a nice car, and they knew I was homeless, so they took it, knowing I wouldn't have enough to pay it. And then I was homeless in a small city, and I got another car because I would perform at parties. Then I drove that till it broke down, and then I got stuck and no one would hire me, and I ended up just walking 110 miles through all the different small towns in this state and documenting what they did to me. And showing them, this is me trying to get a job, this is them attacking me later that night. Just because they can. And then because the excuse was because I was Native American, they were trying to run the hippie out of town. And then you guys, look up the video, like if you are haters, look up the video John Michael. You can see me after my brother died. I recorded it. Because I was like, if I'm going to do a digital legacy, I might as well. So you can see me finding out my brother died. My little brother. Who wasn't by blood, but he was the closest I'll ever have to it. Because Boone won't answer my messages. I passed a street called Booner Street today. It was right next to Hawkins Ave. Well, if you're ever near Chicago or Michigan, you have a safe place to crash. Cool. Maybe. Really, I'd like a network of eco-villages and then turn homeless programs into saving people from their suffering in a way that honors them and allows them to overcome their own stuff instead of beating them into destroying themselves so that they conform. And then once they're healed and able to work and excited to make a difference, but they don't want to be in this society, get them the skills to be beneficial to homesteads, and we can build the new world. I'd say the worst part of homelessness is when I lay alone and I imagine that my ex is still here, laughing at the things that because we used to just watch TV and laugh. So sometimes I'll laugh. Well, really what it is I don't laugh, but that's something she used to laugh at. So it almost feels like she's there laughing still. That's the worst part. Everything else is fine. I don't even mind the crows anymore. But that relationship sucked. And it had nothing to do, I was working, I had a place to live. It had nothing to do with being employed or not. That wouldn't have saved that relationship. So, the only part of homelessness that I don't like has nothing really to do with homelessness. I'm actually more grateful for who I've become because of this journey than who I would have been if I had stayed. I would hate that guy. I look back at that person and I'm like, what a fucking, like, I'm so much better because of this. This made me a man more than being a carpenter and having an apartment ever would, because I would have never understood this. And I think every young man should go through it. Every young man, because they can't go out and kill a wolf, and even if they did, like, you could say, like, oh, I'll teach my son to hunt. Yeah, but he'll have a truck to get there. He'll have a gun instead of a bow, and if he did use a bow, he'd probably use a crossbow or a modern day bow. He wouldn't have just a stick with a string. And he wouldn't have like a makeshift knife like they had back in the day, or like something bronze or whatever. They would have like a tactical hunting knife. So the closest thing you can get to like that natural rite of passage would be fighting off waves of people trying to hurt you the best that they can, and standing up to bullies for years, suffering to get your needs and fighting to get your needs met, hopping over fences in the trenches trying to hunt a buck. I think that you can't be gang unless you've been through homelessness. What's a mouse to a Doberman? Dragging a polar bear home from somewhere, your mama wouldn't let you go over there. Teaches you to appreciate everything. Teaches you morals and values. No, I don't think you should be homeless at 60. But you shouldn't shit on someone who's in their 20s because he's homeless. Not one of those people acknowledge that I probably have been through worse shit than they have. But I've been awake for like 24 hours now. Barely any sleep yesterday. So I don't even know if I should count it. Like if I'm laying there and my mind is constantly going but my body's resting, I don't know if that's sleep. So I'm gonna get off. Thanks for watching. We did 3.5 hours. Good night.